Die Hard versus Star Wars.
Oh, Jesus. I forgot about this.
You know what? It might actually take the rest of the episode.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
This episode of the SinCast is brought to you by NatureBox. Go to naturebox.com/SinCast to get 50% off your first order. All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Hello.
And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Share.
Hi. Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
And today, we are going to start on our March Madness.
Let the games begin! Do you believe in miracles? Yes! In one shining moment, it's all on the line. Battle Royale!
The crowd is just on its feet here. He's a Cinderella boy.
You're excited! Feel these nipples!
Yeah.
Last week, we got the bracket. We told you all the movies that we're going to be talking about, what the matchups were, and all that. So today, we're going to do the 4 play-in games.
Yep.
And we're going to do the North region.
Yep.
And you can look at this bracket on where, Barrett?
We've got an Imgur page that you can go to. Click on it. It'll enlarge however you want it to enlarge. You can print it out. You can play along as you go. That's where
It'll be in the description under last week's and probably this episode on SoundCloud.
And what we'll do, we'll post the bracket as it is. We're not going to update it each week because then that would give away what our picks are. So we'll just have the blank bracket. Pixar.
So today we're going to do just the first matchups, right?
Yep.
We're not going to get a Final Four
participant
by the time this is
just round 1 games.
So we're just going to do round 1.
Yep. Play-in games and then round 1.
That's right. So our play-in games, as a reminder, in the North region we have Rushmore versus Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, vying for the 16 seed to play against Jaws. We have in the South region The Departed versus Close Encounters in the Third Kind.
All these things sound insane. It's
What?
All these matchups sound insane.
They are insane.
They're awesome.
They're fucking insane. In the South region, we have The Departed versus Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the winner of which will play Schindler's List.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have Field of Dreams and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. The winner will play Children of Men. And Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers against All the President's Men to play Back to the Future when all is said and done.
Wow.
Now, we're going to do the 4 play-in games today, and we're going to do the North region's first round. So, first things first, since we're in the North region, Rushmore versus Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Yeah.
So,
this is still probably what I call the best Wes Anderson movie. I think it's his best complete movie. Fantastic Mr. Fox comes close for me. I really like Moonrise Kingdom. Moonlight Kingdom's good too, but it's kind of a porno, so just careful when you're Googling. But
Ed Norton is great in that, though.
Yeah, he is. He's always good in porn. This is the movie that introduced me to Jason Schwartzman, and I think he steals the show. From Bill fucking Murray.
Yeah,
who holds his own and does a great job. But this movie was on a few weeks ago, and I watched a good part of it again, and it just holds up really, really well as an unexpected romantic rivalry between a young teenager and a really old depressed guy.
Well, and Rushmore it doesn't have a lot of these dated 90s references in it or anything like that. It feels like it could happen at any time. All the different things that are in it. I mean, this is just more about human relationships and how, and this is a Wes Anderson staple, these delusional characters who are in this, and Jason Schwartzman as Max Fisher he's super delusional. Like, it's amazing how delusional he is. And it really serves that movie well. Because it really opens it up for anything to happen. That scene where he's talking to Bill Murray and he's at his mom's grave. And he's like, why'd you call me out here? He's like, well, I was going to get that tree to fall on you right there. He's like, and he's like, it would have smashed me like a pancake. And he's like, yeah, well, and he's like, why didn't you do it? And he goes, well, what does it matter? She loves you and all that. And, he's in love with the Olivia Williams teacher character and everything. And Bill Murray actually gets to go out with her. And but by the time the scene is over and Max has left, the tree falls. And it really just goes to show, man, this guy is like super freaking dangerous, man. He's, he got an idea in his head about this teacher, and he really wants it to happen so bad that he actually thinks it's happening.
Well, he makes everything else happen in the movie, with all these clubs that he's forming, his longevity at Rushmore and everything, that he is this guy that can make shit get done.
Yeah.
And you think, what are the limits to this thing?
They're part way through building that goddamn aquarium when Brian Cox figures out what's going on.
Yeah.
Look how far he got before they even knew what was happening.
And it's a great thing too when he comes out and he finally runs into him in the baseball field and starts yelling at him and everything. Max, he's like, sir, I really wouldn't like to talk about this in front of my crew.
Oh my God.
It's so good. And I love all the Max Fisher player stuff, like all the plays he puts on, because they're all like amalgamations of like movies we've seen and everything. There's a one stupid one we get to see when he goes to the Grover Cleveland High School or whatever, where he's like in a car and he's like, "It's time, homie." Yeah. And his girlfriend is like, "Kiss me, little one." and like the one that they do where it's like all of Al Pacino's greatest hits, basically. There's like Serpico, there's Heat, there's all the Godfathers in there, and he's like, "You forgot the cannoli line, man. You forgot the old man loves his cannolis."
I think that's what makes that character work, is because he is delusional, but he's also not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, some of his ambition is stuff that he's actually able to achieve, and he's clearly what they would have called in my era in the 80s a gifted and talented student, in the sense that he's writing and producing all these plays and has all these aspirations. It's just he is dangerous, and he is arguably the villain of this movie, but he's still really likable,
even by the end, which is a way too pat ending, though. I mean, it's everything works, but still, even by the ending, I don't know if I've just read into it, but I still think he's got that evil designs, even at the end of it.
Yeah.
Because she's like, I think it's his dad comes in and he's like, can I dance with your girlfriend or whatever? And he's like, and she's like, I'm sorry, Mr. F. I'm already spoken for and everything. He's like, I'm his girlfriend. And he's like, oh, girlfriend and all that. And it seems all sheepish and everything, but like, there's a lot of things that just, I don't know, the way he looks at the end and all that. There's like, the ending of this movie makes it seem very happy and very pat, but maybe the way he is, 3 days later, he's already going after her again.
Yeah.
Hey, I put on that play. I got you back together with your boyfriend.
Yeah. What's in it for me?
Yeah, what's in it for me?
The other thing this movie does is introduce the world to serious Bill Murray.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's a comedic movie and everything, he had still done The Man Who Knew Too Little like the year before this. And he was still like comic Bill Murray with a few things like Crater Will Rock and like Ed Wood and things like that in there. But this was like the start of like Lost in Translation Bill Murray and Jim Jarmusch Bill Murray and all that stuff. The things that people now identify him with,
sort of a
rather
second
than
wind.
The screwball. So exactly, because we knew him all from Ghostbusters and Meatballs and all that shit before.
In this movie, he's got like cigarette dangling out of his mouth with super long ash, and he's chucking golf balls in his pool in the middle of a party. Like, he's like so messed up. I love it.
It's such a great movie. So all right, so let's talk about Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, the third of the Indiana Jones series.
Yeah.
First one I ever saw, though.
Yeah, and it gets back to the Raiders of the Lost Ark type of model. Like, Temple of Doom was I don't know. It was a lot of
weird.
It was weird, and there were a lot of annoying characters in it. I mean, it's funny. I didn't without any prompting. 2 different people I've gotten in conversations with somehow brought up Temple of Doom. and talked about how annoying Kate Capshaw is in that movie, and she really is.
Yeah.
I think it's on purpose, but it's one of those on purpose type of things where you're just like, come on, you could have dialed that down just a little bit. But not to talk about Temple of Doom. We're talking about Last Crusade.
Is it sacrilege to say that of all of the four of them, I'll even discount the last one, this is the one that I'd probably watch if I came in the middle of it all the way through. Like and it may be because this is the one that I was tied to. I think I saw Temple of Doom before I saw this one, and then I saw Raiders after this. And maybe it's just, emotionally my childhood was tied to it, but I just think it's so much fun when you introduce the Sean Connery character, and then you get the young Indiana Jones, and then you get, it encapsulated all of the fun of this character, besides without the heavy baggage that comes with it, like in Temple of Doom and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and stuff like that.
Some of it, for me at least, and this is probably more about when I saw these movies, but there was more appeal to me in adventure going after an artifact like the Holy Grail that I was very familiar with through all the different King Arthur lore and all that stuff. I knew, okay, this is supposed to be Jesus' cup. I get it. I didn't have any fucking clue what the Ark of the Covenant was when I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark. I'm sure it's biblical somewhere, but it's like way Old Testament Bible that I didn't read very much of. And so maybe it was harder for me to connect to that adventure because I didn't know what the hell he was going after. But I think it just has to do mostly with this is the one I saw first. And so I hold the all subsequent ones that I saw up to this one, and none of them are quite as much fun.
Okay. All right. So I'm not insane.
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah. I like Raiders way more than this. But Last Crusade does, like I was getting to before, does get a lot of that Raiders of the Lost Ark fun back into it, especially with the 3 things that he has to do to get to the actual cave. That's always been exciting for me, just the way he goes through that. And he even gets to mess up a little bit, too. It's not just, one and you're done.
Right.
And, he has to spell Jehovah, and he presses and he steps on the J first, and he hears Sean Connery. But in the Hebrew alphabet, it starts with an I.
Yeah. J. Which is also kind of bullshit. First of all, why wouldn't you, put a little bit of pressure on there instead of, jumping the fuck on it?
I know.
And then how somehow grabs onto the wall to keep himself from falling.
Right. Yeah, I always thought that was the easiest one to go through because you could just kind of tap it a little bit, and, and figure it out or whatever. Like, oh, nope. And then nope. It's almost like Minesweeper or something. So, yeah, the ending of that movie is very good. And, of course, the dynamic between Harrison Ford and Sean Connery is very good. Sean Connery is just so... This is one of his it's his lightest role, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
And he's all the stuff. You call this archaeology, and all that, and he's just he's just a bad father for whatever, but
but oblivious.
Yeah.
He's an obliviously bad father. When he gets the birds on the beach to take down that jet, and he's just walking with his umbrella. He's like, with the birds of the air. And just all sure of himself, like, oh, fuck you, man.
I love Harrison Ford's going into the mansion or whatever, and he's like I'm here to see about the tapestries. He's like, this is a mansion, isn't it? It does have tapestries. It's a really fun movie. It's not Raiders, and I know that you guys because of this is the first one you saw or whatever. I don't know if this was the first one I saw. I'm pretty sure I'd seen Raiders and Temple of Doom before this, but I really enjoyed it. It's not.
Well, this was 8 years into it, right? Because Raiders was 81, and then Temple of Doom was 84.
84, yeah.
And then this was 89.
And Temple of Doom was a weird prequel. It came out it was set 2 years before Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then they jumped back to World War II for Last Crusade. Of course, it's got a lot of the great World War II stuff in it, Spielberg and the Nazis and all other stuff, it's a really fun movie. Now, which one is going to win out of these two?
Well, I know what I'm voting for. So it's going to be me, you, him. Rushmore.
Oh.
Sorry. It's just a more complete film. I can watch Raiders and have a blast. And I think it's fun. That tank chase sequence is classic Spielberg. But it just doesn't have the weight to me. The characters that resonate, that make me think about them afterwards, and wonder what they might go on to and whatnot. It's still my favorite Wes Anderson movie, and so it gets my vote.
Yeah,
you're right. The Rushmore has the most heart out of all of his stuff.
I think so,
because you can't really have both all the time. If you pay so much attention to detail visually, it's hard to inject that heart. That's got to come from the performances. And in this one, Jason Schwartzman and Bill Murray really provide that. So, yeah, I get what you're saying. Right off the bat, we're going to have a tiebreaker because I'm going with Last Crusade. Because it is just so much fun. It's everything that an action adventure should be. I can still watch it. The effects are a little bit cheesy, but it's got the no tickets line. It's got like all this wonderful. I will never get tired of seeing people kill Nazis. All right, so that's my shit. That's my vote.
No ticket.
Yeah.
They all get it out.
Well, let me do it because all the audience is saying it right now. You chose poorly. Because I'm going to pick Rushmore here, and this is a tough battle.
Yeah, definitely.
Now. It was when I first saw this, I was like, yeah, definitely Rushmore or whatever. But both of them have equal merits, I believe, and everything. But Rushmore, I feel like there's so much. Because I'm a lover of comedy in general, I just love how many little different little things are in this. Just. Like I said, I don't want to discuss this in front of my crew, and then it just cuts away, and you're like, you're left to ponder that, and then the little one act about Watergate is another one. Is how he got into the school. One act. That movie is so good and chock full of that kind of thing. I can't pick against it here, so. Rushmore is going to take it.
Rushmore it is.
In the play-in game.
That only took us 25 minutes.
Well, let's go on to the next one.
All right, so we're still in the play-in rounds. And this time it's The Departed versus Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Wow.
Now this is, I think this is harder than the last one.
I agree.
Yeah.
So The Departed is Scorsese's. He won the Oscar for this. It won Best Picture. It finally got him all the adulation through awards that he had been either seeking, or at least everybody else had been hoping that he would get for all his time. When I first watched The Departed, I wasn't as high on it as a lot of people, but subsequent viewings, now I can't get enough of it. This movie is just chock full of actors we love, characters we love, just that gritty dialogue, and it's fantastic.
There is something about it, though, on its first viewing that doesn't seem to hold up to Scorsese stuff. I don't know if it's because it's Boston versus New York, or whether it's some sort of length issue, or that it goes on so long after the big death scene. But I completely agree with you. After the zillions of times that I've watched it afterwards, it's just so memorable and iconic performances from all across the board. The bit parts of Wahlberg and Alec Baldwin and all that shit, like that just sticks with you,
Yeah, and maybe it's just because I can't tell you how long this movie is, and I don't mean length, but from the time it starts to the time it's over, how much real life has passed. I can't tell you. Because you could take it on face value and think, well, that was a few weeks, right? Or you could assume he's jumping ahead in time and we're just not seeing everything. And then it was what, a year and a half?
Yeah, there was a point where DiCaprio says it out loud, and you're like, really?
Yeah. Because it doesn't, and it just maybe that's what adds to it. I think of a movie like Goodfellas that just punches me in the stomach. And sits in my brain for hours after I'm done watching it. I watched The Departed, and I am maybe more entertained than I am watching Goodfellas, but as soon as it's over, I'm on to something else. It doesn't stay with me in that sense.
You guys have brought up something that I'm just thinking about this first viewing through it, and we were comparing it to Goodfellas and everything. Remember how kinetic Goodfellas is, even through the narration. It gets you right in there, and there's like all this technique you see right off the bat, these freeze frames and all this camera work and all that. Even Casino does more, I think, than Departed does. And it's the same sort of, Casino's like Goodfellas, but Vegas, basically. But The Departed, it doesn't move that way. It does have that just balls to the wall scene with DiCaprio following Damon after the porn theater thing.
Oh my God.
That was when I first really felt like I was watching a Scorsese movie. It was right there.
Yeah.
And with Goodfellas, you know right off the bat, but you're just instantly just wrapped up into it as soon as it starts. Departed kind of takes a little bit. You know, he's got to go through all the, you know, the training, and then he's not going to be a cop. They put him they go through all this stuff at the first that takes some time.
There's like 15 minutes of movie before that, which feels like the beginning.
Yeah.
But there's all that setup. That may be part of it. I love this movie.
Yeah.
I will stop and watch it when it's on. I will never watch the edited for television version. I don't even know why anyone puts that on their airwaves.
No.
Because every other sentence is something bleeped or replaced.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I love it. It's hard for me to say much bad about it, but then I look across the aisle and I see Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, I don't know if I can put it in that ballpark.
Yeah.
Well, in Close Encounters, talk about taking its time. You know, Close Encounters takes its fucking time, man.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
And this is probably, especially at that early age of Spielberg, probably his most like deliberately paced all the way through.
Absolutely.
And then you have that huge thing at the end.
Yeah.
But it you got to really like tie on board to get going all the way through.
You
know?
do. It always bugs me, though, when Richard Dreyfuss is in his truck and he gets that first visit with the lights and the rattling and everything. Like, he is so calm through all that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I would be screaming like Steve Carell getting my chest hair waxed. and he's just kind of shocked into observing it.
Yeah.
And it always, that scene, I'm always like, that's not how a real person would react. A
You
real
don't
person
think-
would shit themselves.
Well, I mean, the whole movie, he's got this sense of wonderment to
He
where
does.
it's like,
He does.
he's just blindly following this whole concept. And I guess that's kind of, you're right. But that is kind of how I took that, is that he's just like, wow, this is amazing. I'm going to go after this, you know?
This is true obsession on film. I mean, you know, the mashed potatoes, and then like later on putting all the dirt and mud and stuff in his kitchen. And basically saying, all right, my wife and kids can leave me. I have this in my head and I'm going to deal with it, you know? I really enjoy the deliberate pace of this movie. And it's when you watch most alien encounter, you know, alien invasion type movies, it really just wants you to be like enthralled immediately. Like it's one of those things where we're desperate to entertain you. We need to show you aliens right off the bat, and we need to show like stuff getting blown up and all that. If you're used to the Independence Day type of model, and then you go back and watch Close Encounters, it's just such a breath of fresh air, man.
Yeah.
Much more like a rival almost, I think,
Yeah.
in terms of pacing and the way it approaches aliens and sci-fi in general.
Yeah. And just a lot of he put a lot of like really fun casting in there. Francois Truffaut is in here, and then you have Bob Balaban. And then Dreyfuss is just great in this. And I don't know if there is one alien movie I've ever seen that has given me the sort of wonder when these ships come down, and the John Williams score helps too. But just the way they arrive and like all that whole like ending scene is like 40 minutes.
It takes forever, but you're riveted all the way through.
It's and you're just because you're like them on the mountain. You're sitting there going, "What's going to happen?"
Right.
This could be annihilation, or it could be, you know, what we've always wanted. We wanted to communicate with these. I always did think it was kind of weird though that they took the kid.
Yeah.
And then brought him back like after a year. I mean, I guess it's because they finally communicated with him and they were like, okay, we better bring these people back. But like, they're like, whatever they wanted to do with this kid was done.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, you know, like we brought him up and he was gone for like 6 months or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, and by the end of it, when the credits are rolling, you're like, you just sit back and just, man, that is just way movies should be made.
Yeah.
Oh, it's satisfying too, because it's rare to get like an alien contact movie. You look at something like Contact, which is what we think is a really good movie, but it has such a letdown towards the end.
Yeah.
This is the exact opposite. You're building and building and building, and then you have this wonderful payoff. And what this does have that I was thinking about with The Departed, tangentially to Goodfellas has that wonderful Layla moment, that musical moment set over Derek and the Dominoes, Layla. This obviously has one of the most iconic music moments of all time.
Absolutely.
That da 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 don don. I just murdered that, but
No, I think you were pretty close.
but the fact that when they're communicating, the aliens don't know what frequency to do it because they'll be like da 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 boom boom. Like, oh no, sorry, we got to take it down a little bit.
And then I love it too when you're talking about that whole music scene because the guy's like and then like the ship's going through like crazy iterations of it and everything, and this is just I don't know how else to praise this movie. I mean, it's really the perfect type of alien encounter movie.
Yes.
Well, and it's responsible for one of my 10 favorite Simpsons moments ever. When Homer is playing with his mashed potatoes and makes them into the shape of a big top tent. And then says, I want to go to clown college. It storms off. And Bart goes, I don't think any of us expected him to say that.
He's like, you can't hold me back anymore. Or something like that. This is great. So between these two movies,
oh man,
what are we going to pick?
I got to go with The Departed.
Okay.
I'll tell you why I go with The Departed is that with all of its faults that we talked about, the performances in this thing just knock it out of the park for me. I didn't even talk about Leonardo DiCaprio. I mean,
How does he hold his hand that steady?
I don't know. I don't know.
Every time I see that scene, I try, and I can't go like 2 seconds without a waver, and he just sits there for the whole goddamn time.
I think it's digital effects.
That's the world we live in, where for a half a second I wasn't sure if you were doing it or not. No, because I've seen him tell the story. He actually does this. If you did for some reason think it was fake, he actually does. I want to know how it's physiologically possible.
That's pretty amazing. But I mean, these are powerhouses going up against each other. Nicholson, Damon, DiCaprio. I'll even put Wahlberg up there.
Martin Sheen,
Alec Baldwin. Man, it's just too much fun for me to pick against, even though I love Close Encounters.
Right. Well, this may be the same sort of deal you guys were having with Last Crusade, because Close Encounters is going to win my vote here. Really, though, I saw it as a kid, and I wasn't connecting to it as a kid. It's more like later on in life that I connected to Close Encounters more than anything. And every time it's on, my jaw's dropped. And I can't pick against that and The Departed is very close on this. I agree. It's as fun a movie as movies get.
Yeah.
But as far as just being as well made and everything, I got to go Close Encounters.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right.
I really don't want to be the decider on this one, to quote President Bush. I'm going Close Encounters. And, I think in 30 years that will still be a classic, and The Departed will not be. Even though
that's interesting.
I think The Departed would, if I'm looking at both these Blu-rays on the shelf and I got 2 hours, I'd probably put The Departed in because it's an easier commit.
Right.
I can also get up and walk away if something happens or needs my attention. Whereas with Close Encounters, I want to be in it. I want to steep in it. And it's a lot more to say. Like The Departed is basically, the point of that movie is everyone's a dick. Everyone's a rat.
And it's weird. Just while you were describing that, I was thinking, but this contradicts the last vote. Is that this is a movie that is made for the big screen. Close Encounters.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like it has an edge over The Departed. But in our last vote, Last Crusade definitely has it over Rushmore in that category. So it's not really
What's fascinating is there's about 18 different things that could make us choose, our vote, right? What would I rather put in right now? What had more cultural impact? What entertains me the most? What stayed with me the longest? And we're probably going to change every single time we're picking individually, which is why this is so unpredictable. I did see a comment that said, by even making the bracket, you've basically let us know what's going to win. And I thought to myself when I saw that, I think there's going to be some surprises coming up. Because this is unpredictable.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know what I'm looking at the bracket and I don't know what's going to win.
Exactly.
So I don't know what he's thinking.
He said this is the reason why the selection committee doesn't actually decide who wins the basketball games. And I was like, what?
What? Oh, well.
I mean, he did give us a compliment at the end, so I don't want that guy to think I'm ragging him.
Yeah. No, I mean, truthfully and honestly, I'm looking at this bracket and there's no way way I could pick a winner right now.
No. I mean, that's just with you individually. Then collectively, we have no idea what's going to happen.
Right. So anyway, all right. So Close Encounters goes on to play Schindler's List.
Yeah.
All right. So
Spielberg versus Spielberg.
Yeah, we did get our Spielberg versus Spielberg here.
Out of 4 possibilities.
Yeah.
3 out of the 4 could have been, or 4 out of the 4 could have been Spielberg's.
Our next one is in the East region. Field of Dreams versus One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
God, this is hard.
Yeah.
Because if I'm honest, I think One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest has more to say.
Mm-hmm.
And is a deeper, more important movie.
Most definitely.
But I'm almost certainly going to pick Field of Dreams. I'm curious to anyone who loves movies that has seen Field of Dreams, but is maybe not of our generation. Maybe they grew up in the soccer generation of 15 years ago. Like, how much was the fact that I was playing Little League when this movie came out? How much does that make me love this? The baseball was such a part of my life at that point in time.
It was definitely for me at the time, because the idea of building your own baseball field in your backyard, that was fucking, manna from
heaven.
It is
such a good-looking field.
Yeah, it is.
Like, corn should be the outfield in every major league stadium. It just looks perfect.
Yeah. And so there was definitely something to that. Like, it really captured my imagination and everything. Got to be honest, on these 2 movies, though, I have seen neither of them in a long time.
Oh, right?
Yeah. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, probably been years. Field of Dreams, definitely been years. So I'm going to have to go, really think about this one, because One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, I believe, I think I said this in the 1975 episode, I didn't really like it. That was another one I didn't like the first time I watched it. I've watched it since and everything, and especially with what you were talking about in one of the scenes, one of the heartbreaking scenes we later on talked about. I was like, yeah, this movie has a lot more to say than maybe I've given it credit for. And plus, just a wonderful Nicholson performance at the heart of it. This is how Nicholson became a superstar. I mean, Chinatown was definitely like
another movie with a great Simpsons moment parodying it. Doesn't Barney throw the water fountain out the window?
He does. He does.
You talk about performances, man. He got Nicholson at the top of his game at this point. Him doing McMurphy is basically his persona at the time, just taken up a notch, And Louise Fletcher won the Oscar for Nurse Ratched.
Evil.
She is, but you get a little more if you watch it enough times, and I've probably watched this movie 25 times or something like that. You watch it enough. She's right on some of these things. Like, she's got to restore order. Some of these people should not be pushed the way that McMurphy is pushing them. They're not stable enough for it. Now, Billy is not one of those characters. But some of the other ones are so, you see it in these group scenes where they're trying to process and they're just shouting at each other. One's getting off on antagonizing the Christopher Lloyd character, and one is just screaming and screaming. She's got to restore order to this. So if you introduce chaos to it, I mean, that's the whole counterculture idealism that Ken Kesey came up with. It didn't come up with, but was tapping into there. It upsets the apple cart in a way that can be deleterious to other people. You know? So, yes, she is evil, but there's some semblance of truth and the way things are supposed to be that I think that's why it makes that character so rich.
Yeah, and it definitely makes the movie a little bit more complex than saying that Nicholson is the protagonist, so therefore we should just go along with everything he does.
Yeah.
That's one of our favorite sin things in movies is looking at the bad guy's perspective.
Yep. They
make people bad guys in these movies a lot of times, and you're sitting there going, it's kind of got a point, so Field of Dreams, definitely was because I had gotten into baseball so much and everything by that time, the field and all that, yes, but then all the classic players and all that, and it just really gets your imagination. There's a lot of people in this. Ray Liotta, and there's James Earl Jones, and a young Gabby Hoffman. And
Timothy Busfield.
And
Don't sell the farm, Ray. Don't sell the farm.
Timothy Busfield was a great 80s that guy.
Yes, he was.
He really was. Into the 90s, too, because he's in sneakers. But
yeah. But that one tears at your heartstrings because it doesn't matter if you're into baseball or not. Like the connection between him and his father, and like the whole being out there in the prairie and the small town type of thing, and Costner's idealism and everything, that translates no matter what you think of, baseball or the construct and all that stuff. That is global.
Well, and I think that, I think I mentioned this before when we were voting back in this year, but the daddy issues thing, I think, is a huge part of why this movie works and pays off. I remember watching it with my wife, and she was like, so do all guys just have daddy issues? And I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure. A little bit, to a certain extent, because that's such a universal theme.
Yeah.
And, his case is an extreme one where, they had a literal falling out, and he didn't get to see him before his dad died. And the movie, I think, is more about magic than I think it is baseball.
Yeah, definitely, because they don't show very many baseball scenes in this.
Right. But if you don't finish this movie with a sense of hope and optimism, then you weren't paying attention to it, I don't think.
Yeah.
And that can be an important thing for a movie to do, to make you feel. I love it. Like you said, you hadn't seen it in a long time, but it's been playing on Stars or one of them for the last several months, and my wife knows the music now. She's seen the movie one time.
Yeah.
Because I have it on so often. She's like, are you watching Field of Dreams again?
And
I just love it.
And much like what we were talking about with the bad guys and everything, here's a situation where the good guy is probably completely wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's mortgaging his family's future because he thinks he hears voices telling him to build this baseball field. Yeah. And we know he's right, but nobody else knows he's right.
It's like the obsession with Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Right.
People just leave their families, leave their belongings and everything, and just go after this. And we're like, oh, yeah, that'll probably pay off.
And he goes like on a cross-country trip to get James Earl Jones. I guess, is he playing like a J.D. Salinger-like, or is he playing J.D. Salinger?
No, he's playing parody.
Because I think, I don't think he's actually playing Salinger, but I think it's, it's basically him, though. Yeah. It's a reclusive writer.
J.R. Schlesinger.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right, how are we going to go? It's my turn?
Yep.
Okay. Good God. All right. Based on sort of the importance and the dynamic performance and everything, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is going to have to win this one.
Mm-hmm.
And my love of baseball probably transcends my love of like whatever,
mental health.
Mental health. I don't mean to sound like a dick, but especially at the time. I was 12 years old when this came out.
Yeah.
But One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, definitely because of the performances, and like you have sort of discussed over these past few podcasts, all the different complexities of this movie. It does it so well. I got to go with that.
Well, I know what you're going to vote, but I'm voting Field of Dreams because it's my happy place, and this one is a pure heart pick for me. And it just makes me beam and smile. And like you were talking about the villains, the villain here is Timothy Busfield,
right,
who's trying to make him sell the farm out of love,
right?
Because it's his wife's brother, and they're going to lose the farm if they don't sell it. And then, of course, at the end, he finally sees the ball players and comes around. He's not a bad guy. He's like the principal in Ferris Bueller. He's just doing the right thing.
Although Principal and Ferris Bueller are a little bit more like a bad guy in that movie. But you're right. He is doing his job in that.
I just love it. It's even first time I was ever introduced to Frank Whaley.
Yeah.
He's in Swimming with Sharks, which we talk about a lot, and he's also in Pulp Fiction.
Is he the Moonlight Graham character?
Yeah. He's Archie Graham.
Yeah.
I actually teared up even as like a 10-year-old at this movie when they played catch at the end.
Oh yeah,
like, man,
I know it, man.
That just really gave me chills. My pick is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah, I figured.
It is a great movie, start to finish. It's a pretty long movie, I think, but it doesn't feel that way. There's just so many parts to it that are just iconic. It's a beautiful, beautiful movie and very complex. So that's my pick. That's the winner.
That one will be going up against Children of Men.
Yeah.
All right. So our final play-in game is Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers versus All the President's Men.
Oh wow!
And of course, this was the one matchup where we just went off on like how different these two movies are from each other.
They are indeed.
One is huge fantasy spectacle. One is basically a docudrama.
Right.
Now, All the President's Men, of all the movies in the 70s, I've seen this the most, probably. It's probably, actually, maybe just under Star Wars as far as how many times I've seen it. And I don't know, when you can tell a story like that is super complex, has many characters in it. It's a tremendous plot. It's a real life plot.
Yep.
But it's a tremendous plot. Like, if you were to actually be able to come up with this on your own, you would be a genius. But I love All the President's Men for so many reasons. The dynamic between Woodward and Bernstein before they're writing together and everything. There's the great scene, and Woodward is like he's written this article, and Bernstein goes over to like change some of it. Everything that Redford puts on the copy desk, you see Bernstein go over and start changing stuff. and then Woodward comes over and he's like, what are you doing? He's like, well, you don't have the right stuff in the first paragraph. You need to say this and that and whatever. By the end of it, Woodward's like, I don't mind that you did this. I mind the way you did it. If you want, and he's like, gives him all his notes. He's like, here, if you want to write it, you just punch it up with the facts, and so like, they don't like each other right off the bat. And then they have to work with each other. This is one of those movies where, geez, I mean, how in the world are they going to get somebody to talk on the record? It is so, you feel their frustration all the way through this, even though they're finding all the things they need to find. They keep going to these people's houses and doors just keep getting slammed back in there. And then there's the great scene too, where they find someone who's just like way too willing to talk. And they're like, this seems too good to be true. And they find out, oh, it's not the person that they came to come see and everything. It's of course an important story,
Yes, it is.
I mean, this is a huge moment in American history, a huge blight, using the power of the presidency in this way. But I just think about all the different things that are in here that they have to like connect, and they have to get this deep throat guy, and nobody believes them for a longest time.
The tenacity and the balls on these guys is amazing, and it's a very timely story.
Yeah, I think so.
Because they take down the top levels of government, essentially. And how do you do this? How do you say, like, you keep getting rejected over and over and over and over again, and then finally you get one piece to fall into place. And then finally you get the next one, and then it starts rolling.
They have to keep getting these sources, and they have to get 2 sources to get the article to go through. And a lot of times they have to play these tricks, which I always found those amusing. Like, if they actually had to do this, like, if I'm going to count down from 10, if I get to 0 and you don't say anything, I can publish the story. Blah blah blah. and it's like, can't you just say yeah or no, because you're doing the same thing? If your boss saw you doing this, it's no different. But anyway, All the President's Men is as tense as movies get. It is one of the best movies, one of my favorite movies, and if it ends up winning, it's going to go up against Back to the Future.
What I like is that none of it would ever have even been possible if Forrest Gump hadn't been watching from the hotel.
I
across
know,
the way.
right? That's the one thing they conveniently missed.
I know.
Well, maybe they didn't know about Forrest Gump.
They probably left it out because it wasn't cinematic enough.
Right.
I mean, it's all that first domino.
That's right.
Wasn't it random? Didn't he just randomly assign Woodward and Bernstein editor?
It was. I'm trying to remember what the thing was, because at first nobody really believed in the story. So they got people who weren't known to start on it, and they felt like it wasn't going to be anything, and but I think it started off with the burglary, and then there's the courtroom scene at the beginning where Woodward is in there, and like there's a guy, he's like, are you here for this or whatever? And the guy's like, I'm not here. and he keeps asking questions, and the guy doesn't want to answer anything, getting him very curious. But the burglary and the little courtroom scene at the beginning, they write an article about that courtroom scene. I think that's how it goes. Even though I've seen it a million times, I can't remember exactly if that was the first one. But he writes the thing about the burglary, and like there's more questions involved. I think it starts off being just that, like they just want him to write him about that, but then there's like all these details that don't add up to him, And he's like, there's more to this story that we haven't gotten to yet, because why are there FBI and CIA people in this court getting getting their whatever it was? It was like a hearing or something like that.
There's a great scene that Redford's on the phone and he's like, the person on the other line is like, well, this person works for the CIA, and he's at this moment of shock. He's like, yeah, totally. And he's like writing down like CIA.
He's like, yeah, of course. If you're writing something about that, surely you would know that. And it's funny how naive they are and how much they don't know. Because there's a scene in there also where he's asking about one of the guys, and he's like, I'm glad you asked me that question and not our editor, who's Jason Robards, is really freaking great in the movie. He's like, I'm really glad you asked me that question, because if you asked him that question, he's like, what kind of schmuck do we have on this thing? We're gonna have to fire him immediately because he doesn't know this guy. Anyway, it's a great movie, and I would say that if you haven't seen that, it is definitely worth your while. It is as good as movies gets. All right, so The Two Towers.
Yeah.
Did we not let you talk about All the President's Men?
I don't have a lot to say. I think I've seen it twice.
Oh, okay.
And I remember really liking it and respecting it a lot.
Oh, okay.
But it's much nearer and dearer to both of you than me, so I didn't really have a lot to add. Now, Two Towers, I could talk about ad nauseum, because I love it, and because it is undoubtedly, in my mind, the best of the trilogy.
Yeah.
And it has a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Right?
This is kind of odd, isn't it? Like the second one, I think I remember back then when Return of the King had come out, a lot of people were like, well, The Two Towers doesn't stand on its own, and it's just a bridge chapter for the other two greater Lord of the Rings. This is what a lot of people were saying. But now I think we've got time, and you look back at The Two Towers, and I agree, it's the best one.
It's that Helm's Deep battle.
Yep.
I understand it's fictional. Didn't really happen.
Right.
I understand that I'm looking at a lot of CG. It's one of the most thrilling battle scenes ever filmed.
Yeah.
It is just, every time I watch it, I'm amazed at the pacing and the editing to build the tension to that first moment the battle begins. And then the battle itself lasts for like 20, 25 minutes.
Yeah.
But, the first one is mostly adventure and fun. The third one is mostly battle and sacrifice. The middle one is a little bit of both. And I like that we start out separated after we all fled Boromir's death scene or what have you. And so we get to follow the adventures of, basically everybody doing their own thing. Except for Gandalf. Then he disappears, and we don't know what he was doing. But then he comes back right at the same time he said he would, as the sun is coming up over the thing, because he knew it would blind the guys, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
This is very much like Empire Strikes Back, right? It's the meat in the sandwich.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's got all of the heart, because you see like how connected these people are at the core, whereas in the first they were just kind of getting the fellowship together and everything. But the Return of the King is a great movie, but it's a lot of what we see here retread, and those battle scenes. It's like, how much bigger can you make than Helm's Deep, which is almost a perfect battle scene,
right? Know? And that's what he does in Return of the King. It's just that times 10.
Yep.
With not as much of the tension in my book. I don't dislike the Return of the King.
No,
I like it greatly. But Two Towers. It's just almost perfect in my book.
Hey, it's and The Two Towers has the great Sean Astin thing at the end, the great speech that he does, and talking about the tales that they were told and everything. And then I love the salt on Isengard and all that, the trees coming in, and there's that one great little detail of the one tree that's on fire, and he runs over and dunks his head in the water and everything.
Let me get some of that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not as great as it was in the trailer, because the trailer has that that awesome like Requiem for a Dream music and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Like they redid it and for Lord of the Rings and everything, but that the line is great even in the movie, but in the trailer it's way better because the way they edit it. But this when Saruman's like, there'll be no dawn for men.
Yeah.
And it's just I agree. It's definitely the best one, and it's got the best paced action. It's got the best paced story out of it because Return of the King, as good as it is, it's not paced well at all.
No.
And it's cramming a lot of stuff in, trying to get that like at the end and everything. And I always tell that story, Return of the King. Like I walked past it, that midnight show, running these freaking things at midnight. And I look at it and I'm like, oh, Aragorn is like knighting the hobbits. That's the end of the movie. And there's like a big, like 2 inches thick of film still left on the platter. And I was like, oh, damn, I forgot. There's like all that, whatever. But I love the Two Towers a lot too. So out of these two movies.
Wow. Crazy matchup.
First, right?
Yep.
Two Towers.
Two Towers.
I just don't have the familiarity with All the President's Men. I know that it is potentially the better of the two, but because I don't have personal knowledge of that, and I haven't seen it in 15 years, I gotta vote Two Towers, and it's gonna make my brother very sad. He emailed me, by the way, because I guess I gave him shit on the 2016 one about not liking La La Land and not liking the Lord of the Rings, and he emailed me to let me know he saw that. It's good times.
Man, there's so much pointing to me picking All the President's Men.
Mm-hmm.
I have a thing about the press.
Mm-hmm.
Like it fascinates me. That's why I like Spotlight so much. That's why I like this movie so much.
And The Paper with Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
And The Paper with
Second
Michael
time
Keaton.
I've dropped that on the podcast,
That's right.
by the way.
And Citizen Kane. I don't know. Like I just like the idea of bringing down something corrupt just from hard work and tenacity and stuff like that. I don't think it has the breadth. It kind of kills me to pick this, but I'm going to go with the Two Towers too.
So this is the first pick where it's worthless.
Yes.
Basically. I was All the President's Men all the way on this one.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Two Towers a lot too, surprisingly enough, but All the President's Men is, and you're going to save me from, having to pick between that and Back to the Future.
That's good.
There's at least that.
Yeah.
The
Two Towers just has so much to chew on. Like that's one of the only extended cuts that I can watch and really get into the minutia of the bonus footage and all that stuff.
I am going to say though that if you're comparing excitement in these movies, All the President's Men still comes up with just about as much as excitement as the Two Towers.
It's just not
based
on mythical creatures.
It's correct.
There's no Uruk-hai in All the President's Men.
You're at no, Nixon's kind of an Uruk-hai. Anyway, so the Two Towers goes on to go up against Back to the Future.
That's right, baby.
Best of luck.
Yeah, for
Okay.
all you Tolkien fans.
All right, guys, we're going to talk a little bit about NatureBox.
Yeah.
NatureBox.
We got a new shipment of
Oh, yeah.
stuff. We tried some new stuff since our last shipment. And there's stuff in here like creme brulee peanuts.
Yeah.
Those things are awesome.
Yeah, and the sourdough cheddar pretzel.
Oh, my gosh.
And we also got something, we got more turkey jerky. We're not going to lie, because it's really good.
Yeah, you got to go with your hits.
Yeah, I mean, but, we're having a great success rate on the new snacks to like ratio. Right?
Yeah.
That, I think, is one of the things that makes NatureBox cool, right? Is that, they do have that whole, we'll replace it if you don't like a snack. We'll replace it for free. But the percentage of ones that I don't like is so small, it's statistically zero at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cashew crumble forever.
Oh, that stuff is
Man.
fantastic.
Listen, this is stuff that you can get delivered to your front door. If you go to naturebox.com/SinCast, that's where you need to, that should be your home base because you get 50% off your first order.
That's a half. That's half.
That's half. That's literally half off your first order.
It's 4/8 off of your first
That's
order.
right.
Oh.
That's correct.
Dropping some math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For people who don't like to reduce fraction, it's 4/8.
Yeah. Those non-reducers.
That's right.
But man, like everybody snacks. Everybody's is sitting there. You're watching TV. You're watching movies that the SinCast recommended. You don't want to fill up on potato chips and bad stuff. You get some of these snacks, man. You feel good about yourself. It hits all the taste buds. You got a whole variety, and it's delivered right to your front door.
Look, when I was a kid, my mom would buy, now this is the 80s, my mom would buy a fat-free version of something.
Yeah.
Now, that's what, 30 years ago? Like fat-free chip variety, right? they always tasted like ass.
Yeah.
Right? I could always tell when she had bought fat-free something, even if I didn't see the package, because we have come a long way since then.
Yeah.
And now eating healthy can be tasty.
Yeah.
And NatureBox is one of the companies proving that.
And so far, of all the things that we've gotten in, there hasn't been one. I mean, seriously, literally one of these snacks have I not liked.
Yep.
So it's just great stuff.
You got to keep making your way through the catalog, but I think that success rate is going to hold.
Oh, yeah.
I
All
think
right, so where are we going again? We're going to naturebox.com/SinCast.
That's it.
50% off your first order.
50% off.
Tell them we sent you.
Yep.
You don't have to. It's part of that URL.
Yeah,
They'll
that's
know.
right. That's right.
But now we've got people on Twitter who've told us that because of this SinCast and us harping about it, they finally broke down and they both loved the snacks that they got.
Yep.
Let's keep that train rolling. Like, let me know on Twitter if you order NatureBox and show me a picture of what you decided to order.
Yeah.
That's awesome when people are sending in pictures of their shipments that they got in and all these little NatureBox bags in there and everything.
The buzz is building.
That's right. So
Good stuff. So yeah, naturebox.com/SinCast, 50% off, baby.
we're going to do the first 4 matchups after we do the 4 play-in games.
Yep.
And then we'll work our way up from there.
Yep.
So yes, you won't get the whole round at the beginning, but we'll get through 4 good matchups.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everything.
Lot to discuss.
And today it'll be 8 matchups because we got through the play-in games.
Yep.
We're going to sort of play this by ear and see
Yep.
how long it takes and all that. All right, so our first matchup in the North region is Jaws versus Rushmore.
I think one of them's going to chew the other one up into pieces.
What could you mean by that?
I don't know because, well, it's like shark versus bees.
Yes, it is. It's like that.
This is interesting because, a lot of people that are listening to this episode may not have heard us talk about the 1975 episode, which was, forever ago.
Yep.
So this will maybe be the first time that they hear us talk about Jaws and its place in movie history and how dominant it was that year, and a great year too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
1975 had we already talked about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, had Monty Python, The Holy Grail.
Yep.
It was a good year.
Nashville.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It was an excellent year. So Jaws. This was Spielberg's, I guess it was his second movie. Sugarland Express came before this. And it was the Peter Benchley novel was like this big beach novel that everybody was reading at the time. It wasn't I don't think it was a good book. I don't think I've read the book, but it's one of those Godfather type things.
Yeah.
Where it wasn't. Godfather was always considered a trashy book.
Yeah.
And they turned it into like an amazing piece of art.
By the way, a terrible book to read at the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
yeah.
you go to the beach.
That's a little bit like watching Castaway while you're on a plane.
Well, and Jaws did. This is the sort of the cliche that you hear about Jaws. Jaws did for beaches what Psycho did for showers.
Yeah.
And there was, and you still have to call it a coincidence, but there was a downward trend in attendance after Jaws came out for beaches. This is another movie though that even though it's a spectacle and it's like it was sort of invented the summer blockbuster. That's what it's generally considered the first one. Another movie that takes its time.
Yep.
It doesn't go. I mean, it gives you a shark attack right off the bat, but it really takes time to build characters and everything before it gets into the whole. And it's still character building by the time they get on the boat and everything.
Yeah.
And the character development in these movies are something that we're sorely missing today. I think blockbusters and the summer blockbusters now, they don't ever want to get to that. They feel like they're boring your audience, and maybe they would. I'm not one to say. Maybe they would bore audiences with what they did in Jaws compared to what they do now. I don't know, but I know that the dialogue is action in Jaws just as much as the shark is action.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And there's never been another good, really great shark movie.
No,
I guess a lot of people liked Open Water, and a lot of people like that Blake Lively movie, I guess.
Yeah.
But neither one of them are in Jaws' league.
And then people sort of ironically love Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all ironic.
Yeah.
Because that movie's not good.
Right.
It's one of LL Cool J's least likable performances, and that's hard to say because he's super likable.
I mean, with Jaws, how do you really have to work to make something so insular? Like, you could just stay out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like the shark eventually I think it can come off of land by Jaws 47
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah, yeah.
But like, you just stay out of the water. But like, they're just, for whatever reason, just drawn to it, whether they're hunting for it or whether they're, the mayor is pushing for them to open the beaches and everything. Mm-hmm. It forces the action out to there, and that's where the terror comes from.
I mean, we've we send to this movie. It was one of those type of things where you're
milk
like,
water.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those type of movies where you're like, I love sending this movie because I get to watch this movie.
Yeah.
But I do believe that the townspeople saying let's keep the beaches open is a very real thing.
Yep. Sure.
That's we're frustrated at that choice because we know the shark's out there, but they think it's just they don't even really know, or they don't want to know.
Yeah, they got to make money. If they close the beach, the whole town's economy is driven by this beach during the summer season.
And you sort of got to it's sort of like take the risk to reap the reward and everything. It's a bad risk, but and they kind of want to believe that other shark was the one, right? Yeah,
they catch a shark early on, and Richard Dreyfuss is like, this is not your guy, but the town's just like, that's the guy. Let's get back out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of like false hope in this. And even if there is a killer shark out there, he's surely done now and he'll just leave. But yeah, this is another movie that's got Spielberg, he apparently watched Duel, his TV movie about the killer truck or whatever. Uh-huh. He apparently watched this all throughout, sort of remembering how he built the suspense in that. You've never seen Duel, by the way. It's a fun movie.
Yeah, it is.
But like, he does build suspense very well in this. And of course, it has one of the luckiest things of all time in that the shark wasn't cool to look at, so he didn't use it as much in the scenes, and so therefore we got to use our imagination more, especially when they start getting all those buoys on him.
Yeah, those aren't buoys. That's the Seinfeld episode where Watley converts to Judaism just for the joke.
Yes.
And he starts telling that Raquel Welch joke. Yeah. Anyway.
The three leads in this movie carry it more than any blockbuster I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Roy Scheider, Richard Dreyfuss, and Robert Shaw are the scenes of them on the boat where they strike up this unlikely camaraderie it's amazing. It's terrific.
Yeah, and they all have their own unique but genuine reasons for being there, their motivations. They all have their own pasts that are haunting them. But they're three very distinct, different individuals here. Yep. And I think a lesser movie would just write 3 carbon copies of, generic male 1, 2, and 3. But they really give us 3 different dynamic people here who come together. And if you don't have any of that, like you say, strike up this unlikely conversation, you take all that stuff out of it, this is not the same movie at all.
No, and apparently Shaw was in his really big drinking stage during this movie. It was one of those, I believe it was one of those performances where they were lucky to get him in on the set and all that type of things. And he was drunk during scenes. The scenes where especially like they're drinking, he's drinking. And but man, even so, that story he tells about being in the Navy and like that, the shark attacking their submarine and all that is so riveting.
Yeah.
Like I want to see that movie.
Don't give me any ideas.
Yeah, exactly.
Quint the prequel.
Oh my God. You could make an awesome Quint movie.
Quint the Young Chronicles.
Yeah. But Shaw was in the middle of a great renaissance here. Like he was in The Sting, and he was in he was just, he's great in that everything, even though he had that, he had problems.
Yeah. This is a boozy movie too.
Yes,
man.
it is.
Like they're drinking all the way throughout this, and even Roy Scheider's wife is like, want to get drunk and fool around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, yes.
But yeah, this is as good as movies get, and we're going up against Rushmore here. Of course, I love Rushmore a lot. We've already talked about it. So, what are we going to pick here? And what's the order?
So I'll start, and it's got to be Jaws, baby. I mean, It's possible that we'll see a 16 seed overtake a 1 seed. Ain't going to be here.
Nope.
Jaws is the number 1 overall seed for a reason. It is a perfect movie. It's a great horror movie. It's a great comedy. It's a great blockbuster. It's a great action movie, all rolled into one. I watch it at least once a year around 4th of July, and it never gets old to me.
Yeah. Jaws all the way.
Yeah.
I mean, you put these two movies side by side. I mean, I'm going to pick Jaws every time, even though Rushmore is my happy place.
Yeah.
Jaws is, it's just the greatest. It's just one of those greatest type of movies.
Yep.
And I don't know how you pick against it here.
Yeah, if people were able to wager on this bracket in Vegas, picking Jaws to win this bracket would return the least amount of money. It's Jaws all the way.
Yeah.
Our first unanimous vote, but
Yeah.
there can be no other option here. Like you said, a 16 seed might have an outside shot. It's not going to be this one.
Right.
So we have just done it. We did it.
Yeah.
That's
Done it.
one thing. We did next
done.
song. One song in the bank.
Yep.
Right.
There
Next
it is.
bracket.
All right. So Jaws moves on to the round of 32. Now, on to our 2 versus 15. Now, this will be a little bit longer.
Yep.
Because we haven't talked about these two movies, at least in a while. Die Hard versus Star Wars.
Oh, Jesus. I forgot about this.
You know what?
pairing.
It might actually take the rest of the episode.
I mean, you could not. I mean, both of these movies basically defined a genre for decades. You can't. This is blasphemy. I think Die Hard might have just as much cultural impact as Star Wars.
It might now. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like at the time, and at least for 15, 20 years, Star Wars was this force, and we'd never seen anything like that. But I mean, I think you could make an argument that Die Hard set the blueprint for action movies, maybe even still to this day. But it certainly did for 20, 30 years.
Yeah. And well, it's interesting. I've thought about this Die Hard thing before. It definitely was influential for a while until the comic book movies came in.
Yeah.
And we stopped seeing everyman type of action movies, and we started seeing men who became Supermen even when they were regular dudes. And that's why I think a lot of action movies are terrible these days, is because even in Die Hard's own franchise, they made John McClane into Superman. Yeah. And but all these ones that have come out after the comic book craze and everything, I mean, these guys just survive everything.
Well, and the original Die Hard goes to great lengths to show you how human he is, with the whole, not just the emotional speech about, tell my wife this if I don't make it out, but walking across the glass and getting his feet all cut up. And I mean, like, he's not a superhero.
No.
He goes on to be. Like Vin Diesel in the Fast and Furious movies is a superhero. But in this first one, he's very, very human.
Yeah.
And I think that's what sells it.
There's very few action movies like this that are smart, and then they really dumb it down in Die Hard 2. But the first one, I just love how we know where he is at all times. I'll always bring up that scene where he's running around and he sees the naked girls and he knows what level he's on. We know what level he's on. And then just, he knows he's got to pick these guys off he can't go down there and start blasting away. He has to pick them off one by one, or as many as he can get in one sitting or whatever. Meanwhile, the bad guys are trying to get all this other stuff in position too. And there's that plot to it where it's like, you think it's just your everyday terrorist attack.
Yep.
And it's got more to it and everything, or less to it if you want to really look at it. But yeah, I mean, the action is just so well done. The dynamic between him and Reginald Val Johnson is great in this. It's just a great movie.
One question I had about this: why didn't they pick a German actor for Hans Gruber? Or at least change his name or his backstory or something like that? Because Alan Rickman...
Williams.
Yeah. Hans Christian Andersen or something like that. Like, why couldn't they have just matched the nationality? Why did they have to make it German?
And, at first I was like, well, who's a well-known German actor? But then Alan Rickman wasn't a well-known actor.
Yeah.
But maybe it was one of those things in the audition process that he did so well that he blew away everybody that was actually German who was, auditioning for the role.
Yeah.
And I don't doubt it, considering what we see on screen. And thank God they did pick Alan Rickman because he's, fantastic.
Yeah, he's electric in this movie. Mm-hmm. Like, he's almost more engaging than even John McClane is in many ways. Like, he chews every single line. I love it so much. Shoot out of the glass.
I don't know. I guess they just couldn't find. I mean, my only guess is they probably tried because they did put in, some German actors as his henchmen. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that some others tried and they just weren't good enough. Yeah. They either didn't, know the lines well enough, or they just didn't give that same kind of performance that he did. And this is the arrival of Bruce Willis, even though Moonlighting had gotten him, American audiences and everything knew him from that. Mm-hmm. This put him on the absolute map.
Well, and who would have looked at him in Moonlighting and thought, this guy's an action star?
Right. The way I felt about it even back then. I was like 11. I wasn't allowed to watch this movie. But I remember knowing Moonlighting and then he was in this. I was like, really? Even at 11, but this is just all great.
Yeah. And it goes against Star Wars A New Hope.
It goes against Star Wars A New Hope. Now, obviously, what has there not been said about Star Wars? This is
this the best Star Wars?
No.
Empire Strikes Back is the best one.
Yeah. Although there are people who like New Hope better. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's a small crowd.
Those people are wrong, but they exist.
But I don't think that's a small crowd of people.
I agree.
I have a few friends, I think, that like Star Wars New Hope better than Empire.
Because it's kind of like what we were talking about the last time, where a franchise gets saddled with its baggage after the fact. Mm-hmm. And we've got so much Star Wars since 1977. Mm-hmm. But when this came out, it had gone against all these cheesy sci-fi epics that had tried to do space operas and stuff like that. And then you finally get one that just nails it with the casting and with the story. George Lucas comes in with this sense of wonderment with Spielberg's backing and everything. I wasn't alive at this point, but to be like a teenager when this comes out, like, that just had to have blown your mind.
Yeah, you get to see that kind of in that 70s show where they, even though they can't really draw on their own experiences or anything, but they did that an episode where they.
What's interesting to me is I think most of the things that you can say on the negative side about A New Hope are only able to be said because of what Star Wars movies have done since then, right? Because I can look at A New Hope today, and when Obi-Wan is fighting Darth Vader, I'm like dying to say, swing that thing, man! What are you tapping it for? This is like babies fighting, and that's not the movie's fault.
Yeah,
it's the subsequent movies where lightsaber battles get a lot more. Mostly the prequels is what I'm talking about here, where we see fucking Yoda flipping around like a little Mexican jumping bean, and that sort of undoes what we've seen already and makes it feel a little weak. Or you could say like Luke's a little whiny in this movie, okay, but only in comparison to the following movies where he's not whiny.
But, well, and to the point about how he's fighting this, he is an old man, and we haven't seen I guess we see Dooku later with Christopher Lee going crazy. He's not like Obi-Wan, whatever, but I feel like he is an old man who's out of practice, and that's at least how you can explain it or whatever.
Not Vader's side of that fight, though.
No.
Especially now that we've got the Rogue One, and we see what he did before that in the hallway. But then he gets to Obi-Wan, guy he really wants to kill, and he's just like love tapping him. I don't want to break this pinata just yet.
Right, that's correct. And then
break this pinata.
It's a miracle this movie connected, really, because you think about, and I've read a whole bunch on the Easy Riders Raging Bulls book and all that other type of stuff. The script has all these characters that, think about this, when you first ever see something that's C-3PO and R2-D2 and all these, and the first 20 minutes of this movie the first 20 minutes of this movie are borderline awful. After you get past the opening action scene, think about it.
All that stuff with the droids on Tatooine, is that what you're talking about?
No, like Luke being whiny, going to get some power converters, all that other stuff. And I just imagine what audiences were thinking. They had to have seen the trailer where they're like, "Oh yeah, well,
we're gonna get into some
this
Star
is the
Wars
prelude to all the awesome badass stuff I saw in the trailer," which was probably 5 minutes long or something back then. But then, once they get into the Mos Eisley Cantina and all that, that's where it starts getting really interesting, and it really just moves from there. There's really no let up after that.
You can make the argument Han Solo is the propellant for this movie then, right?
Yeah.
Because it's when he shows up that everything kind of starts getting interesting and cool.
Right, right. And so, it's that window where in their desert, it's just kind of I don't know, man. And, all right, he's finding the old man and there's a lot of bad stuff here, but then boom, it just moves from there.
Yeah.
But once it moves, hell, holy crap, does it move. So what is going to win out of this group?
I don't know. I really do think the reason that I asked if this was the best Star Wars, and it was, in all honesty, I do like Empire the best, but I think there is a very good case to be made that this is an amazing Star Wars movie that gets almost lost to time because of how much has been piled upon it. I mean, this is the propellant for an enormous, one of the biggest movie franchises of all time.
Yeah.
Well, and tonally, it's completely different than Empire. I'm not always in an Empire mood or mind frame where I'm I want to get deep for a while in space. Yeah, sometimes I just want to have fun. I just want to romp.
Yeah.
I might still turn to the Ewoks personally before I went back to New Hope for that, but yeah, I could see it.
Yeah. All right, Chris.
So you're the voter.
I'm the first voter.
You're the man.
Right off the bat, huh? Okay. I'm going to go with the movie that I think is smarter, and it's going to be Die Hard in this case. And it's not I make that choice like it was easy. It's not. It's not easy at all. Star Wars still to this day, and if you want to compare movies as far as dramatic pull, Star Wars beats Die Hard on that every time, especially the little sigh he gives as soon as he hits the spot without the tracking system and everything. Shoots that thing, it goes in there. You're not even quite sure it went in there right off the bat, and then he's just and then it's beautiful. But Die Hard has so many great action scenes, well staged, great acting all the way throughout, a tremendous plot. I can't pick against it.
Nice.
Yeah, Die Hard wins.
Die Hard wins.
And it's a lot easier for me than I think it was for Chris because I get it. I get that you don't have Empire or anything that came after it if you don't have A New Hope. But I just don't think A New Hope is as quality from start to finish as something like Die Hard is.
Yeah.
I can't point to a performance in Die Hard and go, that's an unseasoned actor who stands out to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I can't point to any 20-minute stretches of Die Hard where I'm like, that's boring and borderline terrible.
Right.
I can't think of anything like that.
Right.
Die Hard is just as close to perfect as movies can get. And, boy, are we going to piss off some people here.
That's going to piss off some people. We would have pissed off a lot of people, to be honest, if we'd picked Star Wars here,
That's
too.
the point of this whole goddamn bracket.
Right. So
for those people who are not used to the NCAA bracket, when you pick the higher seed, it's called chalk. And so far, the first two picks are chalk. I'm going with Die Hard, too. So, rock chalk.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a tough one, but and I would have really liked to have seen what happened if Die Hard went against Empire.
That would have been a lot tougher for me.
We may still have that. Who knows? But I mean, Star Wars has. What hurts it in a matchup like this is that it does have bad spots.
Right.
We forgive the bad stuff because of what we see later. And a lot of people forgive those bad spots. What do you mean bad spots? What do you mean? I didn't see any bad spots.
Yeah.
It does.
Yes.
It has some bad spots.
Yeah, the worst spot I can think of in all of Die Hard is that joke the black and white agents say about how they're not related.
Yeah.
Because they have the same last name.
Yeah.
That's a pretty bad joke.
Yeah.
I'll forgive it because I think there are probably people like that in the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, bracket me.
All right, so the 3 seed versus the 14. Silence of the Lambs, 3 seed, Finding Nemo.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, it's right.
Wow.
Well, again, we're getting into movies that are completely different.
Yeah.
Silence of the Lambs, horror thriller. Finding Nemo,
Horror comedy.
Yeah. There you go. Proving my point. So let's get into Silence of the Lambs a little bit here. I know some people who don't like Silence of the Lambs.
Are you really?
It's kind of odd. Like,
what is the reasoning behind liking Silence of the Lambs?
Go find it. Find the Siskel and Ebert review. I believe it was Gene Siskel who did not like this movie.
Really?
As much as Ebert did.
Huh.
Actually, I think he gave this a thumb down. I'm not sure.
Wow.
I don't remember his reasoning. I have seen the episode. I don't remember his reasoning for this, but there are people who don't like it for whatever reason, and I don't get it. I've watched Silence of the Lambs more than 10 times, probably. It always is gripping to me. The way Jonathan Demme directs this movie, he does this in a lot of his movies, but when characters are speaking directly at the camera, but still somehow not looking into the camera, it gets you into those things, and he does it a ton, of course, in this with Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster, and then a lot of the minor characters in there get that camera right on them scene, where they're talking stuff, and you're like, wow, it's gripping. And I love these mysteries, man.
Yeah.
This is a great mystery. I don't quite understand how Hannibal Lecter can come up with all this information.
Yeah, well, that's his thing.
It is. It's kind of bullshit, but but still, I do like the fact that Jodie Foster is basically, even though she's young and like not experienced and all that other type of stuff, she's very smart. And and she uncovers all this stuff that's just and it's kind of like in Seven, where like Brad Pitt is going into this grisly murder on his first job, basically, and everything. Like, just imagine throwing them into something like this. Like, this is Into the Fire. You don't think it's going to be a big deal. You don't think you're going to be successful when you put somebody like that on a case.
That's the dynamic. That's what makes this so successful as a book and then as a movie. I would say it's a great book, by the way, but the movie hands down beats this book. You were talking about Hannibal Lecter or those characters looking into the camera. None more iconic than Anthony Hopkins when he's, and that final stare down with Clarice, and he's getting this backstory about the West Virginia and the lambs. And what are the lambs, Clarice? Quid pro quo. And he's looking, with these hooded eyes just directly at her. And it's just mesmerizing, And the fact that she had to have that little experience. That's why Scott Glenn's character sends her in there, because otherwise it would never have worked with anybody that had a clue of what they were doing or what thought they knew what they were doing. And because of that dynamic, this mystery is solved eventually, even though he's playing around with her. And it just works so great. It's such a great pairing between those two.
Most actors go their entire careers without getting a role this good and hitting it out of the park this good, like Anthony Hopkins does as Hannibal Lecter, right? This is a career-defining performance. No matter what he does from here on out, when he's gone from us, God help, I hope that doesn't happen for a really long time. Yeah. This will be the movie he's most remembered for.
Absolutely.
And deservingly so. He is fucking skin-crawlingly creepy in this movie. I mean, so many thrillers and horror movies, and especially these TV show procedurals, try to achieve creepy through character details, right? Oh, he's eating blood or whatever. Like he's just fucking creepy because I'm convinced that Anthony Hopkins let himself get possessed by a demon before this movie was made. Because every single scene he's in, you feel the evil.
Yeah.
You feel it.
Oh, absolutely.
God, such a good movie.
I mean, it gets your imagination going immediately when she has to go down that hallway of killers, basically.
And semen throwers.
It's semen throwers, absolutely.
Maybe that's why Siskel didn't like the movie.
Maybe. But
it had a touch too much semen throwing.
That's right. That would permeate all of his reviews until, there's something about Mary he didn't like, probably. And
Don't breathe.
Yeah, don't breathe. I mean, the Silence of the Lambs has got this great mystery to it, but it's also got a stunning climax where he's been moved to this other prison. I can't do anything while that is on. Like I have to stay there glued to my couch or whatever I'm sitting in at the time to watch that scene because of how he gets out and escapes and everything is great. I also love I guess that would be the penultimate scene of that movie, because then after that I love how, you have Scott Glenn and everybody going after this guy they think is the guy they're looking for. And then they realize it's not the one, and she's going towards the real one.
Yep. Yeah.
And Scott Glenn is like Starling. Yeah. And then it's just like, boom, you're like, oh crap, she's in the Hornet's Nest. She's in Buffalo Bill's place, So yeah, this is gripping from the beginning, and it's going to be hard to beat. But we got Finding Nemo.
Finding Nemo,
a movie I have often called perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
this is going to be pretty hard.
Because
I think Silence of the Lambs is awesome.
Yeah,
I don't think it's perfect. I don't think it's close to perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Some accents in there don't quite work for me.
Mm-hmm.
A couple characters a little over the top. That prison warden.
Oh yeah,
like his entire character description in the script must mean be skeezy times 10.
Yeah.
This is the same scene we're going to get the semen throwing in. I don't need the extra skis. But Finding Nemo punches you in the gut in the first 3 minutes when basically Nemo's mom, Marlin's wife, and all of Nemo's hundreds of brothers and sisters are killed by a barracuda, which is very natural. This is probably a thing that happens. I don't know about clownfish, but I know barracudas eat eggs and shit. And it's just so he finds this one little baby, Nemo, the name that he wanted, and it's a cracked egg, and he goes down and grabs it and shelters it and protects it, and we pan up and see the moon coming down to the water, and that fucking score is perfect. Yeah, it's... God, I don't know how I'm going to do this.
I know. These are completely different movies.
What a great adventure with great characters. We talked when Aaron Dicer was here last about Finding Dory and how Dory doesn't necessarily make a great, protagonist, main character who's on screen carrying the film. Great side character in Finding Nemo. That's the perfect place for Dory. Yeah. Ellen DeGeneres nails that as well as anyone in the cast. I love that movie. I can't think of anything to genuinely critique that movie about.
What a run from Pixar. I mean, we talked about it before, but this 1-2 punch of Finding Nemo and The Incredibles back to back is pretty amazing.
Yeah. And both movies, when I saw the trailer, I was like, all right, maybe you're getting a little outside what I care about. And then both of those, like, two of my favorite movies ever. And this was at that point where I decided, okay, whatever they do, I'm in. And then they put out the trailer for, like, Wall-E. And I was just like, that looks goofy, but I'm in. And, for a good 5 in a row, they didn't let me down.
Yeah. Yeah, Finding Nemo is just a beautiful movie. Like, this is when their animation is getting really complex. They actually, I believe they actually studied actual aquatic life and made sure to get it down to a T, basically.
That's the level of detail that you need in this type of thing.
Yeah, and so they got all the things right, basically. And then I mean, the whole thing when he gets in the aquarium and he meets all these friends and everything, that's where the movie really starts taking it up another level and everything. Willem Dafoe's great in that. I mean, it's just beautiful and great and well done. I don't know what else to say much about it other than that.
Yeah,
I think my favorite part is when the seagulls are after them and they're about to get them, and the pelican guy, Jeffrey Rush, comes up and he's like, hop inside my mouth if you want to live. I say that randomly pretty regularly to my wife because there are lots of contexts in daily life where it doesn't make any sense. Like, I forget what it... I think we saw a car accident. Like, we were at Starbucks and like there was a fender bender or something, and everybody like gasped, and I go, hop inside my mouth if you want to live. Oh man,
guys, we gotta love the detail that's in this, though. I mean, beyond the fact that the animation is fantastic, but just all the little things like the hey and all that, and then like the mine, that that's the biggest laugh for me in the whole movie, is just when they accidentally stumble on that, and then you just see him, and he's like, mine.
And this starts that great accidental tradition of directors doing the voices for characters, because Andrew Stanton was just doing Crush as a fill-in until they cast an actor to do Crush, but everybody thought it was so freaking funny. And then Brad Bird does the same thing with Edna Mode in The Incredibles.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so I love those little details. Finding Nemo is one of the few DVDs that when I bought it, I went through every single bonus thing, which showed all the footage of them researching all the aquatic life and all the early attempts at water drawing and whatnot, and little factoids like Andrew Stanton accidentally casting himself as Crush because he did such a good job.
And we've got a great voice work from Albert Brooks here. He's as home run as it gets when it comes to cartoons, and you can watch any of the episodes of The Simpsons where he's a guest star, and they're all classics.
Yep.
But
or the movie.
Yeah, or the movie. Yeah. So if you want to have somebody who's your main protagonist coming through, this is the guy you want.
Yeah.
Nothing against Ellen DeGeneres. I just think the character itself is not something that you put in as a main.
Well, and Marlon's flaw makes sense narratively, and Dory's character flaw, her 10-minute memory, doesn't.
Yeah.
Maybe her issues with missing her parents do, but Marlon is overprotective. Like the whole point of this movie is him learning not to be so protective, because if you protect too much, your kid never gets to have any experiences. And it's that way. I think that kind of a lesson transcends parenting.
Yeah.
Right. Because, I'm one of these people that, I have anxiety issues. I don't always want to leave the house. But if I'm constantly trying to protect myself by staying in the house, I'm never going to have any experiences. I'm going to blink. My life is over.
Yeah.
So maybe that's part of why this movie affected me so deeply. But at this very moment, I have no idea what I'm going to do.
Right. Well, you're up. You're the first
I'm
vote.
the guy.
Yep.
Finding Nemo.
Upset pick.
I can't believe it because of everything we said, and Hopkins is so iconic in Silence of the Lambs. But I can find fault with it, and I can't with Nemo. And I'm not trying to be upset guy, but there you go.
No, that's good reasoning.
No, I mean, this is tailor-made for a heart versus head pick, and like kind of just a weird juxtaposition between these two.
Yeah, it really is.
Thomas Harris, when he wrote Silence of the Lambs and Red Dragon and Hannibal and everything, he came up with this brilliant character who was a brilliant psychiatrist. But to inject the life into this character, you needed somebody with the stature of Anthony Hopkins, who had a great career up until then.
Absolutely.
Right? And really just almost based on his performance alone, I would vote for this. You're right. There are some times where it's not, perfect. But I think the pacing is perfect. I think the way that he's only on screen. Hopkins is only on screen
like 16 minutes.
Yeah, for very few, but he infects the entire movie.
He does. He's kind of there in every scene, even though he's not physically.
And I've got to pick Silence of the Lambs.
I'm telling you,
I love Finding Nemo.
He's so good in that role that I'll watch Hannibal or Red Dragon if it's on.
Yeah.
Just because he elevates those movies. Another actor couldn't do it.
Well, you saw it in Manhunter when Brian Cox did Hannibal Lecter. Yeah. Good performance, but it wasn't anywhere near what we got.
And another amazing actor, too.
Yeah.
It's just Hopkins did something next level-ish here.
The thing about Anthony Hopkins is kind of like what I was talking about with Jeffrey Wright last week when we were doing the casting of Batman. Everything that he says is something that you are just in tune to the entire time. Part of it's the mystery, but part of it is, who is this guy and how does he think and how does he tick and everything. So like everything he says, you're just on every word. Like every word seems to have meaning. I'm in a trance with this guy. I think you're right about there being some flaw in Silence of the Lambs and that Finding Nemo doesn't really have any. But Silence of the Lambs is a better movie. Isn't? And that's the weird dynamic we're in here. Finding Nemo probably doesn't have any flaws, but it's not as good as this movie. So Silence of the Lambs is
fair enough.
Fair
enough. All right. How many did we do? 3?
We did 3. Let's do one more and then
some questions.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad we can get to this next one because this one's fun.
Yeah. LA Confidential 4 seed versus Sideways 13 seed.
Oh, yeah.
God damn it.
This is rough. This is absolutely rough. Okay, so LA Confidential, I still to this day in 1997 feel like it should have won Best Picture over Titanic. Problem is LA Confidential hadn't quite made the impact. I mean, Titanic was as impactful as it gets. LA Confidential, even though it was a much better movie than Titanic was, I mean, I don't think it was a big hit, and and there was not many people talking about it, I guess, or whatever. But when you look at the achievement this is, and you read the Silence of the Lambs book, and they made that into a better, made the movie better.
Yeah.
L.A. Confidential, James Ellroy's book is like 500 something pages, and it's dynamite. Great book. The movie's still better than the book. and it's hard. I mean, that's a tough book to adapt, and it's an amazing achievement. Talk about your great mystery plots and everything. Is in the book, it spanned decades, and this one it spans like a few years or whatever. But to get all that on screen with as many characters there are, and they're all got their own little things. James Cromwell's great. Russell Crowe, before he was really well known, in one of his best performances, Guy Pearce.
Before he was well
known.
It was even before Kevin Spacey was the man.
Right.
Because it was pre-American Beauty, and I think that's where he sort of became a legend.
Yeah.
Like he's nearing Bill Murray, Christopher Walken status now.
Yeah, he had won an Oscar by this point, but you're right. I don't think Spacey was Spacey yet.
Right.
And then Kim Basinger wins the Oscar for this. I think she's good in it. I don't know if she needed to get the Oscar, but Danny DeVito is great in this. And
David Strathairn.
Yeah, David Strathairn is really good in this. I mean,
Everybody's awesome.
Yeah, everybody's got great little characters and these these little details about the Night Owl massacre,
Night Owl shooting.
Yeah, and all this stuff, and the hookers that are cut to look like stars, and all that. Like somehow they connect to a whole. You don't quite get there, and then finally, you get Russell Crowe, the badass, versus Guy Pearce, the guy who really wants to do good, having to team up by the end of it.
Great ass gunfight at the end.
Yes.
Which, you say it's like a shack, and it doesn't sound like it's going to be a great... Like, I think it's a hotel of some kind with standalone shack rooms. Fantastic. Floorboards come into play.
Right.
Really, really good shit.
Yeah.
God, I love this movie so much. But then it's going up against fucking Sideways.
Yeah, Sideways, which is, a deeply emotional, trek through this,
Yeah. By the way, I love the fact that this movie is a bachelor party movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, essentially it is.
I mean, you have all these things like The Hangover and Bachelor Party where it's all zany stuff and comedy, broad comedy. And this has elements of that.
Sure.
It has the screwball stuff. It's got the sex-obsessed friend and everything. Mm-hmm. But when you put something like that in the hands of somebody as talented as Alexander Payne and Paul Giamatti, you talk about injecting life and heart into something. This elevates it to a type of movie that I hadn't seen to this point.
No, and what fascinates me is how likable it makes Paul Giamatti's character, because he's not super likable.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're rooting for him by the end, but in the first 10 minutes, you see him steal cash from his mom while she's downstairs talking to his friend. He's not a good guy. He's a lovable loser. He teaches junior high. I mean, he's schlubby. He's depressed. He has anxiety. The only thing he lights up about is wine. And, then eventually Virginia Madsen lights him up.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Absolutely. Well, and that's a great scene that they have between them, because they're talking about wine, but they're also talking about themselves.
Right.
Thomas Hayden Church in this is just so fantastic.
The chick was married, man. Her husband works a night shift and came home early and found me with my cock and his wife's ass on the floor.
I love him so much in this, and he's not a great guy either, but there's, the part at the beginning before they're even on this trip together and everything, he's wanting to get Paul Giamatti laid and everything, and he's like, what you need, man, is get your joint worked on. That line is just classic to me.
He's got the right attitude, though. Like, he's an asshole, but his outlook on life is optimistic and positive. In the whole movie, he's trying to get Giamatti to be more positive. Giamatti may have the better moral behavior down, but his life outlook is shit. Like, it's depressing as hell. I would rather lead Thomas Hayden Church's life, and at least believe I'm going to have fun tomorrow.
Yeah.
Whereas Giamatti's character gets to points in this movie where it's just like, it's never going to get any better than this.
It's so frustrating.
This movie has so many surprising performances, because Paul Giamatti had done American Splendor and a few things before to tell you he's a great actor, but he wasn't on this level, like leading man type of level. And Thomas Hayden Church was Lowell on Wings. We had no idea that he had these depths. Sandra Oh made her, pretty much debut in this, where, for wide audiences before Grey's Anatomy. And Virginia Madsen, like, it really thrust these four actors, into the forefront and showed how great they are.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, you mentioned Sandra Oh. I had known of her for a while. I don't know how close to this being her debut it was, but I remember her being in a movie called Double Happiness, which was like in the 90s or something like that. I remember enjoying it. I hardly remember anything about it, but she was
It
good.
only gave you single happiness?
Yeah, it gave me single happiness. It might have been one of those movies where like the Belcourt, like something happened to the movie and I didn't get to see the rest of it or something like that. One of those weird things. But I remember her being in that. Anyway, yeah, Sideways is fantastic, and Alexander Payne at the top of his game. Everybody's at the top of their game here. Virginia Madsen was, she was in nothing really notable. Like The Hot Spot, maybe. She was like, she'd never been given a chance like this before, and she knocks it out of the park. But now we're going up against LA Confidential. So
that's another style versus heart. Now, I don't know. Or head versus heart, because that movie, LA Confidential, is so smart. Everything ties in together. All the characters weave in with each other. I don't think it has I don't know. It doesn't have the pathos that Sideways does.
No, these characters
it's just
aren't
so different.
These characters don't have nearly the sort of the revelations to their own character, really. Maybe they do.
Yeah, I don't know.
It might be a bad thing to say.
It's I'm going to ultimately select Sideways for my vote.
Okay.
In an upset, but it's a really, really difficult. This is probably the toughest one so far for me, because it's so close, because LA Confidential is so fucking brilliant, and I want to see it move on to do, go against somebody else, but I can't go against Sideways.
I feel like probably shouldn't say that. Okay, LA Confidential is going to win this one, and this one is, as much as I love the two movies, I don't think it's even close in my mind.
Oh yeah.
LA Confidential is just absolutely dynamite all the way through it. I've said that already, but like, it's just absolutely one of the best movies of the 90s, and I would wager to say it's got to be in my top 30 to 50 of all time, if not higher. So I'm going to go with LA Confidential here.
Nice. Wow. A lot of pressure.
All right, I'm going to resist the temptation to ask what the seed numbers are again, because that would sort of be cheating. I need to just answer.
What's funny is that they could be reversed and it would be perfectly plausible.
All right. LA Confidential is unimpeachable. It is action, crime, drama at its very best. It's better than Heat. It's better than The Town. It's up there with all the great crime action movies. But I am unable to sever my connection to Giamatti's character in Sideways.
Yeah.
When I fell in love with wine, it was for Pinot Noir. That's what he likes to drink. He wants to get a book published, has a really sad phone call with his agent. I didn't have a phone call like that, but I've had those conversations. And, I have always felt like everybody has self-esteem issues where at certain times in your life you view yourself as a loser, or more of a loser than you should be or wish you were. Yeah. And it's that he's so encapsulated. He's so resigned to his fate. Right? Like, he loses it and drinks out of the spit bucket when he finds out his novel's not going to be published, but he's already resigned to that fate. He's already accepted that he's nothing and he's never going to be anything. And the only thing that ever gives him any hope in this entire movie is Virginia Madsen, a chance at an actual real connection with a human being again. I'm voting Sideways, and I'm sorry. I really feel apologetic to Chris right now.
This is a massive fucking upset.
I fucking love LA Confidential.
Yeah,
I really do. But this movie, Sideways, has bored into my soul, and it's not coming out.
What I was about to say was, I think this is going to go sideways. Before I cast my vote, but I did not want to unduly influence anything when I said that. So yeah, I feel like that's a massive upset.
Yeah.
I disagree with it completely.
Yep.
But Sideways moves on.
Is that an upset then?
Oh, that's a huge upset. That's a
huge-
13 over a 4.
Oh, they're storming the court.
Yeah.
That's a tremendous upset. So that will be the first half of the North bracket.
Yep.
We went chalk. Now, the one thing I do like about Sideways winning is that we didn't go chalk all the way through.
Yep.
So it wasn't 1, 2, 3, 4. We have a 1, 2, 3, 13.
Yep. That's it, baby.
And
That's it.
so we did not pick the higher seed there.
Chris is wistfully looking at his LA Confidential poster right now.
I honestly didn't know that was going to happen. Like, I haven't looked at these since last week. I didn't even remember that matchup.
That's a devastating loss. Anyway, let's go on to the questions.
Question. I got something to say. I want the truth.
I'm listening.
So the one that we'll start with is the one that I'm most excited about. Listener writes in, somewhat inspired by Chris's all-black recast of Star Wars. Mm-hmm. Take your favorite movie of all time and recast it entirely gender-swapped. What an interesting concept this is.
Absolutely. So my favorite movie of all time is Back to the Future, and of course it's in our bracket.
Yes, it is.
So
Number
that's
one
gonna
seed.
It's gonna be, obviously we know where I'm gonna be going on most of these, although who knows? There still could be some movies, even though Back to the Future is my favorite, I might find other movies better than.
Yeah.
There is a way that you can think that way. But anyway, Back to the Future is my favorite movie of all time. And it's weird. I don't know of very many people, the actors these days, who were the age of Michael J. Fox Michael J. Fox was 24 when he did Back to the Future.
All right.
And he could believably play a high school student, even though we know he's a little bit older. A lot of the actors that end up coming up with are older than Michael J. Fox was back then. But maybe if I were able to cast this 5 or 6 years ago, I would get these actors. Some of the actors who are like 23, 24 nowadays, I don't know can fit into that Marty McFly role or that Doc Brown role or any of these roles. So I'm just going to wing it here. And if you guys disagree,
Wing it, baby.
I disagree. Oh, wait, you haven't started.
Yeah. So Marty, I have Emma Stone as Marty.
Oh, great.
So we don't know what we're calling these characters yet. Maybe I don't know if we
Could be Marty.
Yeah, it could be Marty. I might as well be. Michael J. Fox's performance in this is outstanding. Like, I don't know how much credit he gets for Back to the Future.
Not enough.
We talk about all the cool stuff about Back to the Future, but Michael J. Fox's comic timing is legendary, I think. And he's just the way he goes through his stammering and all of his delivery and everything is just a wonder to behold. And so of all the actresses that I can think of that are, around that age that can do that believably, it's Emma Stone.
Yeah.
Especially after we saw her in La La Land. But Easy A is another good reference point, and even Superbad is a good reference point, even though she doesn't get much to do in that. And I guess the house bunny or whatever, she's really good in that. So I think she could believably pull off a Marty McFly, and because she's got enough of that goofiness to her, that she could do it. For Doc Brown, and here's another thing: who's an older actress who's around the age of Christopher Lloyd? Now, we can still do wonderful things with makeup. Yeah. And so I picked Kate McKinnon for Doc Brown.
You could see shades of it in that Ghostbusters remake.
In fact, that's when I was sort of referencing back when I was writing this down. It was like, Kate McKinnon could do an extremely believable Doc Brown, I believe. And if you give her the right amount of makeup and everything, and she's in Ghostbusters. She's almost Doc Brown a couple of times. Not quite as old as Lloyd was. Lloyd was, what was he? He was 47.
Oh, yeah.
When he was in Back to the Future, which
played much older.
Much older. And McKinnon's only 33. So, not quite as old, but I think we do the wonders with makeup and everything. She'd be a great Doc Brown.
Yeah.
Biff Tannen was a tough one.
Yeah.
And Thomas F. Wilson, I believe, he was 26 when he did Back to the Future. So, again, who's an actress around that age? And again, we don't need to have them at that age or anything, but who could believably do Biff Tannen? And I really picked, I think, a top shelf actress here, Evan Rachel Wood, playing Biff Tannen, because Evan Rachel Wood's got that face and that look that and people who are really familiar with her with Westworld. Probably, she's really sweet and everything, but she was also in True Blood, where she was a really evil person on that, and that's more of my reference point. Was her?
Man, a lot of the stuff she's been in, she's angrier, like The Wrestler or that movie 13. She could play. She's not as physically intimidating as Biff in the real movie was, but attitude and face, she could totally be a bully.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the way I was looking at it. Now, I did consider Ronda Rousey. That was the funny thing because if you think about it, I mean, that's who we would cast as our female bully in a lot of these movies, and she's been cast that way.
Hey, Neighbors 2 cast Chloe Grace Moritz as the bully.
Yeah, that's true
for some reason.
So I think she would be really good at that. George McFly. Now we're talking Crispin Glover was like 23, I think.
Yeah,
when he played George McFly, and I'll make sure of that real quick. And so again, age is kind of a he was 21. That's the guy that I was.
He was 3 years younger than Michael J. Fox?
Michael J. Fox.
Holy shit! I did not know any of this stuff. Did you?
I knew that they were young. I didn't know they were that young.
Yeah, wow. and they believably made them look older and everything. So he was only 21. So really, you have an age range here where you can pick somebody who's actually that old who can play younger, or somebody who's younger that we'd have to make up and everything. I have Anna Kendrick playing George McFly.
Wow.
And the reason why is that I think she can believably play nerdy.
Yep.
And do the goofy thing. George McFly is a goofy ass character.
He's goofy.
And I believe Anna Kendrick could pull that off. Now, really, honestly, you could switch Anna Kendrick and Emma Stone. I want to see this movie now. Because those two actresses would be in it.
Yeah.
But Anna Kendrick, either one of them, I think, could play Marty or George.
Can you imagine those scenes where they're like out there, like on the laundry line and everything, and they're going back and forth? That'd be awesome.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I've got her there. Now Anna Kendrick is now in her early 30s. So it's a but she could believably play younger or a high school student, I think, still. And then for Lorraine Baines McFly, I have Zac Efron playing the. Remember, Leah Thompson was gorgeous.
Yeah, she was a heartthrob.
Was super gorgeous back then, and I think it's weird. Zac Efron came onto the scene with High School Musical, and it was easy to sort of dismiss him, but I think he's actually a decent actor.
Yeah.
He was pretty funny in Neighbors. That's my second Neighbors franchise reference in 5 minutes.
That's right. But I think he could, you could make him up to look like a sad sack in the 1985 before he goes back in the past. But then he's going to be like, the heartthrob guy that is going to believably seduce Emma Stone when she wakes up in the bed in that scene.
Yeah, what's interesting about that is you think about that eventual car scene that's just creepy on so many levels.
Yeah.
You could see Emma Stone holding up to that, to where it didn't go too far into the pervy side of it, where she would play it more as comedy.
Yeah. Now, the movie's just completely changed, though, once you do this type of thing to it. A lot of the dynamics of this movie get changed. But those are the people I think could believably enter those roles.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah.
All right, I have one that's completely male that I'm turning completely female. There's no female characters in this movie that I know of that have any note. Now, one of my favorite movies of all time is Rambo: First Blood.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
It's actually First Blood. But I was thinking, like, you could probably make a case for this, to gender swap it and make it believable. So, obviously, the main thing that you want to find is the John Rambo character. And I was just watching Edge of Tomorrow recently, and Emily Blunt would be a great Rambo.
Yeah, she would.
So, she is going to be my Rambo. Now, if you remember, First Blood is before all the crazy Rambo stuff happens, where he goes to Vietnam and starts turning into, people into bullet sponges and all that stuff. This is him out in the wilderness, the Pacific Northwest, surviving and
just
going
trying to
against
live
this
his life. Just
trying to live his
not
life.
doing anybody any harm.
Yep.
He's got some stuff behind him, like he's got some sadness behind those eyes.
Yeah.
And Emily Blunt could play that type of character. She's a great actress.
Oh,
she's
man, you're making me think of Looper.
Yeah, and she's got that physicality to her too that I think she could pull this off. So that's Rambo.
Who's she squaring off against? Marge Gunderson?
Well, Teasel is the main antagonist in this film, and that was Brian Dennehy's character.
Yeah.
My Teasel in this is going to be Gwendolyn Christie.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
That's a
Or
great one.
Brienne of Tarth
Yeah.
in Game of Thrones and Captain Phasma in the Star Wars movies. Talk about like physicality. First of all, she's Chris's future girlfriend.
Yeah.
She's like 6'3",
Absolutely.
model beautiful, but still physically imposing.
Yeah.
So I think she'd be a great person to go up. You imagine those scenes between the two
Oh,
of them.
I know.
My Colonel Troutman, who's the Richard Crenna character, is going to be Linda Hamilton.
There you go.
Oh, nice. The one that's got like experience with Rambo.
Yep.
And okay.
Yeah.
She was Rambo's former captain and everything, or leader in the Vietnam War, and definitely has some like toughness behind her.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, those are the three main characters. I'll run down a few of the rest of them are interesting but not essential to the plot. So Art Galt is the sadistic guy, that the state trooper that eventually tries to kill Rambo from the helicopter. That's going to be Tilda Swinton.
Ooh.
Who can definitely play.
You're basically casting all the badass women Hollywood has.
Exactly. The Kern character is the state trooper that sasses Troutman. Is going to be Lucy Lawless.
Ooh.
Mitch is the one that's scared of Rambo. That was David Caruso's character in First Blood.
That's right.
That's going to be Kobe Smulders.
Oh, nice.
Oval is the one that's all like gung-ho and trying to go after him and try to kill him. That's going to be Michelle Rodriguez.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of the cast to round it out, Balford is going to be Gina Carano.
Yeah.
Lester is going to be Naomi Harris.
Sign me up for this movie.
From 28 Days Later in the Pirates movies. And then Ward, I think the first ones to die is going to be Carrie Ann Moss.
Yeah, well, that's all. Oh, my God.
You're going to kill off Carrie Ann,
Let's not
huh?
also forget that Naomi Harris is nominated for an Oscar as well for Moonlight this year.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that is a tremendous cast. I would watch that immediately.
Doesn't that sound fun as hell?
Go out and shoot that in a backyard somewhere. Make that a 24-hour film. I would watch it.
Let's get that shit on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Like Rufio. Did you see Rufio did a Kickstarter?
Oh, yeah?
To make a short film version. He tried to raise
that's right.
$30,000. He raised it. So now they're trying to raise $200 to make a
my
feature film
God.
version. And I saw somebody on Reddit today was like, doesn't he need to get Amblin's permission before he does this? Like, because that character was created for that movie.
You would think. I mean, I think it was. There was a Kickstarter that tried to do some sort of Doctor Who thing. I think. I may be getting two stories mixed up here. I know that Community had a Doctor Who parody on it, but they weren't allowed to say anything close to Doctor Who during it. But I think somebody actually tried to make a Doctor Who Kickstarter of some sort. They didn't say it was Doctor Who, but it was the same sort of thing. They, traveled in the same type of vehicle, all this other type of stuff. And it was on, I think they had some episodes on YouTube or something too, like that everybody liked them. And they said, yeah, let's do this. But Doctor Who people came in and said, nope, you can't do this.
You can't just do everything like that.
Yep.
All right, is it my turn?
Yep.
All right, so I was 3/4 of the way through my recasting gender swap list before I noticed the question said your favorite movie. Now, I still lucked out because I did The Martian, which is my current favorite movie, even though my all-time favorite is The Matrix, and I would also love to gender swap The Matrix, but I don't like doing work twice. So I did The Martian, and right off the bat, you need a good lead. You need somebody of Matt Damon's quality that can pull off emotion, can be smart, can be sarcastic and witty. And so I'm doubling you up with the Anna Kendrick casting.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like she's the right age. I feel like she can play somebody who's super smart and somebody who's really a sarcastic asshole. Now, you read the book, he's even more sarcastic and hilarious in the book than he is in the movie. All right, so Captain Lewis, which was Jessica Chastain, picking another redhead, going with Damian Lewis, our boy from
nice
Band of Brothers, and now on Billions. Was in Homebound, Homeward Bound, the Claire Danes story.
And on the short-lived series Life that I really liked. But it got
I heard he
canceled.
was great in it.
Yeah.
Vogel, the German that builds the bomb on the spaceship. I'm going with Kate Beckinsale.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Because she's pretty, and I feel like she could maybe do a German accent.
Yeah.
Even if not, she's getting cast. Oh, actually, no, that's not. I'm wrong. Vogel is Numi Rapace.
Ooh.
Beck,
Nice.
which is the guy that gets kissed on his thing by Kate Mara.
Yeah.
That's Kate Beckinsale.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bucky.
Yeah. Johansson, who is Kate Mara, is going to be Jesse Plemons.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah. Jesse, where'd you come up with Jesse Plemons?
I don't know.
That's awesome.
I think it's the Matt Damon connection because he looks so much like Matt Damon. So Teddy, the head of NASA, which is
Jeff Daniels.
Jeff Daniels, and it's going to be Jodie Foster.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I feel like that's the same kind of caliber. Annie, the press secretary, which is Kristen Wiig. I'm going to make that Ed Helms. Just go back to the comedy
nice.
well.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's a lot of people in this movie. Vincent Kapoor,
Yeah.
Chiwetel Ejiofor. How did he say his name?
It's Chiwetel Ejiofor.
That what he said. That's going to be. This is reaching way back. Navi Rawat,
Yeah.
who was on Numbers and was in that Project Greenlight.
She was
movie,
on the
Feast.
OC for a bit.
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah.
She was.
Just trying to stay true to these ethnicities here, right? And she's of Indian descent, even though I don't think Chiwetel is. Mitch, Mission Commander. That's Sean Bean, who says because it's a secret meeting.
Yes.
I'm giving that to Margot Martindale.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Bad mom villain on season 2 of Justified.
Yeah.
I think she has the right attitude.
Got a million character actress credits.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
Mindy Park, which is the Mackenzie Davis character, I give to Jim Parsons. That's just my go-to male nerd casting.
Right.
Rich Purnell, Donald Glover. I'm giving that to Rosario Dawson, another person that you like a lot.
Love
nice.
Rosario Dawson.
And then Bruce, the head of the JPL, I give to Lucy Liu.
Yeah.
Oh.
I like all of those choices. I would watch that.
Yeah,
I would
totally.
watch
Yeah.
it.
You know, it's crazy how much you can make a movie new by just doing that. And
Yeah.
I want to see it all of a sudden, even though I'm totally against remakes.
Well, you can see the difference between something like this where you put a lot of thought into it than Ocean's 8 or the Ghostbusters stuff, you know?
right.
I mean, not to say that all these would be perfect, but you can see the good ideas in there, you know?
yeah.
Another question here. I just watched Kubo and the Two Strings and realized that it was Travis Knight's directorial debut, and it was definitely my favorite animated film of 2016, which is saying something because there were a lot of animated movies.
Stacked. I still need to see it.
It's great. So I was wondering if you guys knew of any other examples of outstanding first projects by directors, and he's in luck because we do.
Yes, we do.
We have too many, actually.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. You want to go first?
Well, I will go first. I'm afraid because I'm going off my list that I emailed you guys because I just realized Gone Baby Gone is the only answer I can give for this. Ben Affleck. Now, he had enough Hollywood experience. This isn't quite what the question almost suggests an unknown director's first movie is really, really great and huge. But Affleck goes, I'm going to direct a movie. Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah? Are you a big actor guy? And then he makes fucking that movie.
Yeah.
And he drops the mic, right? And everyone's like, oh, shit, dude can direct.
Yeah.
And I also had written down Damien Chazelle with Whiplash.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with either of those. I'm going to, man, I got to go with the classic, and it's Orson Welles doing Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I briefly considered Sam Mendes for this, for American Beauty.
Oh, good call.
Because that is a great, great movie. But Citizen Kane, man, to throw your nuts on the table with that, heretofore never seen with techniques that the guy just was bigger than
And
life.
he was like 26, right? Like,
He was so young. It was an acting tour de force. It was a directing tour de force, and he just announced himself and said,
Absolutely.
"Fuck y'all, I'm here.
to the
You're gonna have
point
to deal with
where he almost had to have known on like almost a borderline delusional level, I'm this good.
Yeah.
To be able to do that at that age,
Yeah.
I mean, he had to know he had talent.
Now,
And it was scope. It's crazy.
the thing about Orson Welles, though, is that he had a lot of experience directing plays and radio dramas before, and at the age of 26.
Yeah, long career.
Yeah, but I think it's kind of like that Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours thing, which is bullshit. But the 10,000 hours thing. You work so much on these projects, and you do a lot. He probably did a lot of fast, like let's get them out, get them done type of stuff and everything. he probably went into that movie going, why not? Why shouldn't we be able to do stuff like this? It seems like to me you could get the camera and start moving it this way, like take the floorboards out, and make people look taller. And go through
maybe it was that youth that gave him that ballsiness.
Absolutely.
Like he was just naive enough to not be held in check by conventional logic in Hollywood at the time.
That's why you can't make a good rock and roll record after you're 40. You know, I mean, because you don't have that youthful fire and that kind of thing. You know, you really got to shoot for the moon on that first one. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but sometimes if you have that combination of somewhat delusional, like grandiosity and talent, if that comes together, you get something like Citizen Kane.
Yeah. All right. So it's funny because at first when I thought about this question, I was thinking possibly Christopher Nolan for Memento, but that's not his debut.
Wow.
They debut was called Following, and it's a good movie. It's like an hour and 9 minutes. It's like a Game of Thrones length episode. The question becomes, do you count that as his debut, or do you count his big studio breakout with Memento as his debut? Because Following is kind of a, it's got that 90s indie. We're just trying things out here, and I'm pretty sure he was very young too when he made that movie. I actually recently saw Following, and it's it's weird because it's not a movie that like just comes out and says this is the guy that's going to make Inception and Dark Knight and Prestige and all these movies. I think Memento is closer to that than anything, and it feels more like his debut than that movie. So if we were going to go on some weird arcane rules here, Nolan's Memento would be a great choice, but it's not technically his first movie. So I feel like he's disqualified in some way, unless you think The Following is that kind of a dynamic.
DQ.
But I'm going to say Darren Aronofsky for Pi.
Oh, good call.
Yes. I love that movie.
I do too, and I used to watch it all the time. And it's just one of those that sort of announces I'm here type of movies. The editing on this, all that, that stuff that he did, the pill popping and getting ready for, all that. And just it really gets into that diseased, obsessed mind really well. You can sort of get caught up in it yourself, like all the different places of pie that there are, and this guy can go through them all and everything, and he's just got all these figures going through his head. Movie is balls to the wall crazy.
Yes, it is,
and it's a prelude to his Requiem for a Dream. And he goes even further on that, but I think Pi is the one for me.
That's a good call.
Oh man,
I like that pick.
That's a movie that's almost lost to time. People don't talk about it very often.
They really don't.
But it was a staggering debut. I saw that in the theater when it came out, and I'd never seen anything like that, especially the end.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to be it for this SinCast. Keep going to SoundCloud and giving us your thoughts.
We got great feedback in this bracket challenge. People were saying that was one of our best episodes ever. That's great to hear. Thank you so much. If you got problems with our picks or our seatings or anything like that, go to SoundCloud. Let us know. Politely if you want to, angrily if you want to. It's cool.
Just imagine if this was greeted as a bad idea.
We screwed.
Yeah.
We could change gears pretty quick.
If it was, we would have been like, well, apparently none of you like that idea.
I just run through the winners in like 30 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's probably what we'd have done. Right. Well, this is how it would have happened by O.J. Simpson. And but anyway, that'll be it for the SinCast this week. It's Chris Atkins and Jeremy Scott and Barrett Sher. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
And for Anna Kendrick fans out there, if this were to be made, and if it was a shot-for-shot gender swap remake, that means you get to see your butt.
Yeah.
Maybe cut that part out. Maybe some things come out of my mouth before the filter kicks in. Because you see Matt Damon's butt in that movie.
Well, all you have to do is say Anna Kendrick's in this movie, and I'm watching it.
And you're already thinking about her butt.
That's right.
That you didn't know
fucking
about
G.E. Smith.
Oh, wow, from the Saturday Night Live band?
It was my favorite fucking guitarist. Like, every time, because he was so cool, man.
Yeah.
Every time he was on there, he was just ripping it.
And every Christmas season, he'd do Jingle Bell Rock at least once.
Yeah.
with that little-
Which is the most unrockingest song ever.
Jingle Bell, I have a cramp in my foot. Motherfucker.
Oh, this is the
There's a
worst.
snake in my boot.
There's a snake. Somebody pulled my string. There's a cramp in my foot.
Catherine Waterston, am I right?
I don't know who she is.
Oh, you got it right there.
Am I right?
Who she
Catherine
is?
Waterston? She was in Inherent Vice, and she was in the Steve Jobs movie as Steve Jobs' wife that kept coming asking for money.
I know. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
She's pretty.
She is Sam Waterston's daughter.
That's not a surprise.
Mhm.
I mean, he's ugly, but
She kind of looks like him, though. Like, even though she's very
Yeah, I
pretty.
could see that, yeah.
There's some very Sam Waterston stuff in her.
she probably doesn't want to hear that.
Probably not.
What was she in this year? Or this last year?
It was Fantastic Beasts.
Oh, yeah.
And where to find them.
God, what a fucking waste.
Fantastic Beasts of No Nation.
That's what we should do.
Fantastic Beasts of No Nation of the Southern Wild.
Okay, so this can be an outtake.
Mm-hmm.
So Frank Kemp from Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
fan of the show, tweets a lot,
Mhm.
made this for us and sent it to me.
Oh.
I had to cheat and tell him before the episode went live what had won in 2016.
Ah.
And he sent 2 other things here that I think are additional gifts that would be cool enough on their own.
Mm-hmm.
So we have like a Spider-Man 2 poster.
Ooh.
Cool.
Sure, this is a Tropic Thunder poster.
Ooh.
Because he knows we like those movies, I guess. He didn't actually explain those 2.
Oh, this is the Amazing Spider-Man.
Oh,
Nice.
okay, even better.
Cinemasins history right here.
It is. It's the first one we ever did.
Yeah.
Baby.
And then this is what he really sent.
Ah.
And you'll both need to examine it closely and
Let me see if I can do this
upside down.
where both of us can see this. Oh, look at this. Look at this.
Holy shit.
So if my math is right, he's basically taken the top 3 from every year from the podcast and made this collage into, for folks listening at home, well, I'll tweet a picture or whatever, but it's a SinCast poster. And what makes it is the shit down at the bottom, all the credits, because he's got every guest we've ever had down there.
Oh,
And it's like
wow.
storyboard by Jeremy Simser, visual effects by Aaron Sims, alcohol is something credited down there.
Written by alcohol.
Written by alcohol, Larange, original music.
Produced by a white hot rage.
Yeah, there you go.
There's Dude, Where's My Cars on there.
Is
So
it?
maybe he's just taking movies he knows we love.
Yeah, maybe so, because I'm goddamn sure Dude, Where's My Car didn't get
But
anywhere
like
near.
the last 3 on the bottom, those were the 3 we voted for in 2016.
Yeah.
Ah. That's awesome.
This is
anyway.
a really slick poster.
Yeah, we should frame that, I think, and hang
Oh,
it
yeah.
somewhere.
So, and the cats are...
That's one of my favorite things cats do is shove their paw under the door and whap at what they can't see.
Yeah.
By the way,
a
for
little
those at
fucked
home,
up.
Chris now has 3 kittens.
Yes, I do.
Not just the one that I tweeted about.
Well, I'll tell you what, after the trip I took where, basically I only had the one and he was just getting, food visits. It was gone for like 3 days. When I got back that one night, that cat was just like, meow, 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 meow. I had to like hold him for a bit because he was like, he was upset. And I was like, you know what? I mean, there's the little adoption agency or whatever told me about the 2 brothers. I'll go ahead and get him his brother. So if I do leave next time, they have each other to
you
play
go.
around with. Everything.
My mom used to leave the TV on when we'd go on vacation.
Oh, really?
So the cat would have something, hear human voices to hear or
Yep.
whatever.
No, that's cool.
But this
I
was
do
like in the 80s when, I don't know, we didn't have all the shit
Yeah,
from today
right.
that makes that more... We could talk about other things now.
Mhm.
I had a point and it just went right out my ear.
See what happens. See what happens. Let the chips fall where they may. Now, this is special healthy shit, man. I've been eating so shittily lately that I got a kale, apple, kiwi smoothie.
You can
on the
really
way here.
taste the kale.
Yes.
My wife made kale last night in the frying pan.
Mm-mm.
Was
That's
that good?
stuff. It smelled good, but I didn't eat any of it.
Mm.
Really?
No, I had Wendy's.
Yeah, there you go.
Can you put some fried kale on this Baconator?
I did not have a Baconator.
You have to have something to push that through, as one of our chefs so memorably said.
I loved him in Cocktail.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the thing about,
Was it Brian Brown that was in Cocktail?
yeah, I think so.
Brian
Brown's biggest movie was FX,
yes,
I believe.
with Brian Dennehy.
Fuck Brian Dennehy.
That's why I gave you a weird look, because I didn't know what the fuck you meant when you said Cocktail.
I knew it as soon as I said it.
Yeah, well, and I was like, well, Brian Cox has been in a lot of movies. He probably was in Cocktail.
He's in...
His Drunken Bar Patron 1.
He's in a lot of movies you don't expect.
Yeah.
You should just grab your mic, open the window, and just be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly.
Wait a second.
I thought we talked about this.
I think I hear Lois banging on something that's trapping her inside of a pool of water. Better go save her. Like the whole podcast has been. Just play it by ear and see what happens.